About 3 years ago, the planet suddenly entered a phase of spiritual energy revival, and humans began to explore the mysterious power. Some individuals were granted extraordinary powers, becoming warriors who destroyed anomalies and were praised as heroes. The story begins in a ruined city where Lin Tian, covered in bleeding wounds, screams in hatred, calling Li Xiaodong's name. Li Xiaodong coldly drives a knife into him, a scornful smile on her face, wondering why he still isn't dead. Shang Yu approaches from afar and calmly speaks. Upon hearing him, she changes her tone to soft flattery. He carries Li Xiaodong inside, looks at Lin Tian with disdain, and announces that his teammates are erased and it's his turn next. Lin Tian is kicked down, roars in rage, and swears that the couple will suffer a horrible death. Shang Yu laughs mockingly, saying he's unsure how they'll die, but one thing is certain. He stomps hard, sending Lin Tian falling into the abyss, coldly declaring, "You must die now." Below, a pack of ravenous monsters growls, their blood-red eyes fixed on him. In his final moment, Lin Tian recalls those unjustly slain by Jiang Yu, filled with regret. He silently curses that if there is a next life, he will make those cruel ones pay with their lives. Even if he becomes a demon, he vows to make them repay in blood. When hope seems gone, a series of system messages appear. Supreme Martial Path activated, host life in danger detected, reversing time, insufficient points, timeline random. Lin Tian suddenly wakes up, eyes wide, realizing he's lying before a TV showing a soccer match. He touches his chest in panic. He's alive. Didn't they kill him? Then a system panel pops up, startling him with a message to choose a cultivation attribute. Realizing he has reincarnated and owns a legendary system, thinking of Xiang Yu and Li Xiaodong fills him with fury and a thirst for revenge. Calmly checking the panel, he sees he's returned to 1 month before the spiritual revival. At this time, no one knows that the spiritual energy is secretly recovering. When it awakens, even flora and fauna mutate, and supreme spiritual fruits appear that grant immense power when eaten. The heavens show strange omens, auroras, meteors, thunder, and whoever seizes the chance will become invincible. Lin Tian feels thrilled because a month is enough time to prepare. He opens the system's introduction page and the screen displays the information. The sections include attributes, daily missions, attribute training, and point exchange. Without hesitation, he chooses the fire attribute, the most powerful one. A dazzling light burst forth as the system announced it was extracting the fire cultivation technique and requested patience. A glowing crystal floated, radiating purple light, granting the owner a high-level blazing secret art and 5 bonus points. His eyes lit up with excitement upon discovering it was a purple-tier art, a treasure far rarer than the green scroll that once caused chaos. Without hesitation, he crushed the crystal in his hand. Instantly, heat surged through his body, flames erupted around him, and the surrounding temperature skyrocketed. His gaze burned with resolve. This life, he would rise above and let no one look down on him. At that moment, his phone rang. Li Xiaodong's name appeared on the screen. His expression darkened. He had nearly forgotten that scheming woman. He answered coldly. She demanded 20,000 to buy a bag and insisted he transfer it via WeChat. Memories of being used in his past life enraged him, and he shouted for her to ask her rich man instead and never call again. He hung up decisively, picturing her arrogant face. Scene shift. Xiaodong frowned, furious at being hung up on. Xiang Yu smirked, thinking she was acting up or drunk. Irritated, she grabbed the man's arm, acting coy that she only wanted his attention and who cared about that loser. Enjoying her flattery, Xiang Yu grinned and bought her a set of luxurious clothes. Scene shifts to the People's Hospital. Lin Tian sweated and panted in anger, recalling how hospitals before found no cure. He remembered hearing that her father forced her to take supplements that destroyed her ice attribute and made her gain weight. Clenching his fists, he vowed to protect her and ensure she'd never regret once energy revived. In the ward, nurses and doctors surrounded the bed, noting her stats were stable, but body temperature abnormally low. A panicked father rushed in, begging them to save his daughter. Dr. Li agreed to examine her pulse. After the check, the doctor asked if she had traveled recently. The father said they had gone to Iceland to celebrate her college acceptance and returned Wednesday. The doctor concluded that cold energy invaded her body and prescribed urgent warming medicine before it was too late. The father thanked him profusely, while Dr. Lee sighed and turned away, saying her fate depended on destiny. Suddenly, Lin Tian burst into the room, his voice ringing like steel. The father was stunned. A doctor asked Lee if the young man was his apprentice, but Lee shook his head. Seeing the commotion, the medical staff hurried to pull him out, scolding him for intruding into the emergency area. He firmly told everyone the girl wasn't sick, but had awakened a rare ice system, and a wrong cure would destroy her body and future. Someone coldly mocked him for reading too many novels and ordered him dragged out. As soon as those words ended, a loud scream startled the entire room. Old Lee glanced at him suspiciously and demanded to know how he knew about the ice system and who he really was. Lin Tian calmly replied that his identity didn't matter, saving the girl did. The room fell silent. Only old Lee remained composed and arrogantly asked the young man to explain the treatment. Without delay, Lin Tian listed the needed herbs with doses: fresh ginger 2 qian, aconite 2 qian, cinnamon bark 5 qian, angelica 1 qian. The nurses were shocked since the prescription matched Master Li's exactly. They suspected the boy of copying. Old Lee gave a cold smile, admitting the recipe was correct but insisting it still couldn't save the girl, Tuya. Before he finished, Lin Tian interrupted, saying the formula lacked one crucial ingredient. He raised a finger and declared that key ingredient was the Stardew flower. Hearing that, Old Li's indifferent face turned to shock. He warned the Stardew flower might no longer exist in the world. The nurses grew more astonished if even Master Li admitted it. Maybe the boy was right. Talao eagerly begged to know the price and source of the Stardew flower, but old Lee shook his head, saying it couldn't be bought. 67. The flower was described as a tiny blue star-shaped bloom with a silvery core whose sap could heal and relieve pain quickly. According to ancient texts read by old Lee, the flower only grew when spiritual energy was abundant in ancient times, making it nearly extinct today. Talao panicked that his daughter might suffer forever, but Lin Tian quickly reassured him he'd save Yu Ting without harm. Old Lee was surprised by his confidence and asked if he truly possessed the legendary Stardew flower. Lin Tian nodded. Another doctor stepped forward, warning old Lee not to believe the poor youth, claiming he had just peeked at the prescription through a camera and couldn't surpass them in knowledge. Old Lee then asked about the Stardew flower, leaving the man stammering that it was just a myth like something from a game. Ignoring all the chatter, Lin Tian opened the system's point exchange and heard confirmation of access. He exchanged 5 points for a Stardew flower, received a real one, held it up, and told everyone to stop arguing. Old Lee gasped, recognizing it as the legendary spiritual medicine, and turned back to confirm with him. Lin Tian affirmed and asked if he now believed. Old Lee clasped his hands, bowed apologetically, and begged him to save her. The group approached the bed where Yu Ting lay weakly breathing. Looking at her, he swore never to let her suffer again. He took out the Stardew flower in his hand, then gently brought the glowing flower close to Yu Ting's body. A nurse exclaimed as the patient's temperature rose steadily and her vitals stabilized. Soon after, Yu Ting opened her eyes, surprised to see him, and stammered his name. He smiled kindly, told her to rest, and promised they would meet again soon. Turning to Talao, he advised giving his daughter more nourishment. The father gratefully thanked him repeatedly. Lin Tian quickly left the hospital. Old Lee called after him to stay for tea, but he politely declined, saying he had urgent business. Old Lee frowned curiously and asked his name. He gave a faint smile and replied that his name was Lin Tian. Late at night, in a small room lit by a screen, he typed diligently, recalling notes on cultivation realms during the spiritual revival. After some searching, he joyfully found the record map of spiritual cultivation. He sighed with regret, remembering dying at the Iron Vein Third Realm in his past life, vowing this time to go far beyond it. In the steamy bathroom, he meditated in the tub, channeling the heavenly blazing flame art as spiritual energy swirled wildly, his power rising greatly in one session. Clenching his fist, he vowed to ascend to the Emperor's sovereign realm. In a secret location, Liu Ying frowned and asked old Li to confirm meeting the man who possessed the Stardew flower. He nodded, saying the boy truly cultivated spiritual energy. Old Li firmly declared the young man was a rare spiritual genius who, if trained properly, could change humanity's fate. Hearing that, Liu Ying immediately handed Lin Tian's photo to Leng Yue, ordering a thorough investigation. She replied, "Understood." Turning back to old Li, Liu Ying smiled and praised him, saying if his words were true, he had earned great merit. In the steam room, a violent wave of heat burst from Lin Tian's body, shaking the entire chamber. He opened his eyes in amazement, realizing the purple tear technique was so strong it had pushed him to stage 2, spirit awakening in one night. The door burst open as he stepped out, stomach growling, complaining of hunger close to fainting. Throwing on clothes, he hurried out of the dorm, mumbling that he needed food. He could eat a whole cow now. On a nearby lamppost, Leng Yue secretly watched, comparing the photo to his real appearance. Her lips curved slightly as she whispered that she had found her target. Suddenly, an object shot toward him, exploding with a thunderous blast that filled the air with dust. From the smoke emerged a massive mutated dog with glowing claws and blood-red eyes. He smirked, realizing the signs of spiritual mutation had begun to appear. The beast roared fiercely. The foul stench made him grimace and cover his nose, cursing in disgust. It lunged like lightning, swinging its sharp claws from the side. He dodged in an instant as a gust sliced past, but its iron tail slammed into his leg, sending pain surging through him. Gritting his teeth, he glared back at his foe. Flames rose around his hands as he growled, "Now it's your turn to die." He leapt up, shouting, "Flame Fist, annihilate!" and unleashed a blazing punch. The strike hit the monster's chest, making it howl as blood sprayed out. From afar, Leng Yue was stunned that he defeated a first-tier mutant beast in one move. Without hesitation, he struck again, finishing the creature off. He snorted coldly at the corpse, calling it a fool that overestimated itself. Hunger hit him hard, and he hurried away, feeling even hungrier after the fight. Leng Yue stood frozen, surveying the aftermath. The beast's broken iron tail lay in a pool of thick blood. She guessed the cracking sound earlier came not from human bones, but the monster's tail. Watching his figure fade, she quickly pulled out her phone to report, suspecting his body hid an unexplainable secret. The next morning, brushing his teeth in the mirror, he noticed his fatigue and sore body as if he'd truly fought, deciding to keep training. Stepping outside, he saw breaking news. The summit of Ziyun Mountain reached an abnormal 80°, and citizens were urged to stay away. The host reassured viewers that it was only due to ozone thinning and told them not to believe wild rumors. Hearing that, he realized the ozone there was intact. The rising force was actually intense fire spiritual energy. Recognizing the rare opportunity, he grabbed his coat, determined to absorb that powerful fire aura. As he opened the door, he suddenly faced an uninvited guest that made him freeze. In front of him, Li Xiaodong shamelessly appeared, demanding 200,000 to buy a luxury bag. He immediately glared and shouted for her to get lost and stop bothering him. She brazenly assumed he was pretending to attract her, even threatening not to let it go if he refused. Lin Tian didn't bother arguing, turned away, and coldly told her to disappear and never bother him again. At Ziyun Mountain, the 80° news drew massive crowds of curious people. Security guards kept warning them not to cross the barriers, saying the inside could burn a person to ashes. A few reckless youths mocked the warnings, throwing corn into the restricted zone to test the heat while jeering. As expected, the corn popped instantly and turned black. The crowd screamed in terror, shoving to escape, realizing the area was truly dangerous. When Lin Tian appeared, he stood on the car roof, confirming the powerful fire spirit as predicted. After calculating, he knew absorbing this energy would break his limit, so he rushed into the scorching zone. Everyone was stunned. Some shouted he was crazy, while guards yelled for him to come back before burning alive. Entering the fiery zone, he felt his whole body ignite, the heat unbearable. Each cell seemed to melt, yet he gritted his teeth, vowing to rise as the supreme cultivator. The scene shocked onlookers. Some cried he was evolving, his eyes blazing like fire. After absorbing it all, he noticed hundreds watching and decided to retreat to avoid exposure. He dashed away like lightning, leaving the crowd exclaiming a celestial being had appeared and snapping photos. A guard stood frozen, astonished that the temperature normalized within minutes. He turned pale, trembling as he muttered whether that man was truly an immortal. That night, in a luxurious villa, Liu Ying quietly watched news about the mysterious man on Ziyun Mountain who resolved the anomaly and vanished. He immediately called to seal all news about Ziyun Mountain, preventing panic. At that moment, Leng Yue entered. Liu Ying asked if she saw the man defeat the first-rank mutant dog with one punch, and she confirmed he was uninjured. Hearing this, he fell silent, realizing 2 cultivation prodigies had appeared within 2 days. He decided not to let other factions act first, and must recruit Lin Tian as soon as possible. Then Liu Ying stood up, signaling Leng Yue to prepare to meet that person. At his home, Lin Tian sat amid swirling spiritual energy around his body. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, golden light flashing sharply. A huge force surged. He had entered the Yongquan realm. The system congratulated him, granting a new attribute slot to cultivate dual elements. At the same time, the demon inscription function unlocked, allowing permanent elemental engraving on weapons by material. Excited, he cheered, realizing he could forge weapons with his own attributes. He quickly grabbed his familiar knife, laughing that he would turn it into a treasure. But before starting, the doorbell rang at midnight, making him tense up warily. Opening the door, he saw 2 strangers and asked who they were. The calm man introduced himself as Liu Ying, president of the Spiritual Cultivation Association, and the companion as Leng Yue, coming to discuss cultivation. Hearing that, Lin Tian silently recalled the organization from his memories. He remembered in his past life, he and Yu Qing were once saved by a female cultivator from the association. However, in this life he hadn't contacted them yet, so he suspiciously asked how they knew about him. Liu Ying showed a photo of Yu Qing, saying old Li who healed Miss Tu mentioned him, and revealed Yu Qing had joined the association. Lin Tian pondered and sensed they held no malice. As he hesitated, Liu Ying gently invited him to join, but he refused, saying it wasn't the right time. He explained he wanted more self-training and would consider cooperation once global spiritual recovery began. Leng Yue reminded him that although he had reached the awakening realm, it might be luck, and without association guidance, advancing to the Yongquan realm would be far harder. She patiently advised that Earth's future was changing. Spiritual cultivation was the only survival path, and only with the association's guidance could one progress steadily. Leng Yue said she once believed she could cultivate alone, but after 3 years of failure, she joined the association and soon reached the awakening realm. She affirmed that with the association's support, he could reach the 2nd stage of the Yongquan realm within 3 years. Lin Tian curiously asked her age, and she smiled, saying she was nearly 21. He thought her talent was average, but pretended to praise her as a genius. She proudly said the association was full of elites, and being a genius was merely the minimum standard. Liu Ying added that the association would provide abundant resources if he joined. While speaking, Liu Ying's phone rang, and he excused himself to answer it outside. An urgent report stated a Tier 2 beast had appeared 30 kilometers from the city. He pressed for details and was told it might be a giant venomous python. He immediately ordered the area sealed and prepared to take Leng Yue to the scene. After hanging up, he apologized to Lin Tian and hurried off for the urgent mission. Watching them leave, Lin Tian vowed to grow stronger and never repeat past mistakes. He understood advancing from his current realm would be extremely difficult. With that thought, he activated his fire element spiritual energy tracker. While searching, his phone suddenly rang, startling him. Irritated, he answered, only to hear someone begging for help because their villa was haunted. Hearing about lightning without rain, he suspected his friend was awakening thunder spiritual energy. He urgently asked for details about the lightning around the villa. Tianbang nervously described the dark sky and endless thunder, pleading desperately. Lin Tian immediately concluded it was a sign of thunder element spiritual awakening. He thought about the classification of spiritual energy power levels. They included 4 basic types: water, fire, wind, and earth. Next were the rare attributes: ice, light, darkness, and lightning. Finally came the legendary Tier Void spiritual energy. Excited, he rushed out, telling his friend to seal off the area for secrecy. Tianbang trembled, saying no one would dare come in such weather. At the same time elsewhere, a woman and her 2 teammates prepared for a secret mission. The blonde man eagerly asked their leader where they were headed. The red-haired woman replied that a mountain was surging with intense lightning energy and they needed to collect it before disaster struck. Lin Tian immediately left home, following Tianbang's directions. After a long journey, he arrived at the foot of a thunder-filled mountain. Seeing it, he joyfully confirmed the existence of true lightning element spiritual energy. Without hesitation, he activated the system to cultivate rare lightning energy despite double consumption warnings. The system began extracting a lightning element cultivation technique. A cayenne gem glowed as the system announced he had obtained the Ben Lei Ju. Holding the stone, he excitedly praised the terrifying power of the lightning technique. At the same time, the trio arrived at the mountain area. The 2 men trembled, doubting they could control the thunder's power. The red-haired woman scolded them and snatched the containment bottle. She frowned, exhaling heavily, then decisively raised the bottle toward the heart of the lightning storm. Thunder energy was instantly sucked into the insulated bottle. The 2 behind cheered excitedly for their leader. But soon, cracks appeared on the bottle and she panicked as it couldn't withstand the energy. The bottle exploded and the red-haired woman barely escaped amid a deafening blast. In the sky, lightning intertwined violently as if tearing the heavens apart. The group panicked and fled, the energy completely out of control. As they retreated, the blue-haired man heard a strange noise behind the bushes. Lin Tian appeared amid lightning, his aura stunning the group. The red-haired woman screamed in fear, telling him to leave before he died. He ignored her, shouting that he came to face the thunder head-on. Everyone was horrified, thinking he sought death, some even mocking him. Lightning exploded, tearing the sky apart. A bolt struck him, racking his body with pain, yet he roared in defiance. The 2 men gaped, believing he was an immortal descending to earth. The red-haired woman shuddered, exclaiming he might have awakened a super-rare lightning element. Forced to his knees by lightning, he still resisted fiercely, roaring against the heavens. His eyes blazed as he swore that neither heaven nor earth could restrain his will. He shouted his vow to become an immortal powerhouse and conquer destiny. His eyes turned white as lightning burst from his mouth, merging with the raging storm. His body floated mid-air, feeling immense energy coursing through his veins. He smiled in satisfaction at his newly awakened power. The system announced he now possessed fire and lightning energy, asking if he wished to fuse them into Thunder Flame, a legendary energy. Without hesitation, he roared his agreement, merging both forces into one, shaking the entire space. When fusion completed, he smiled faintly, sensing the legendary power burning within him. In the pouring rain before an abandoned factory, 3 people stood still as the commander spoke of a giant python with dark energy. Leng Yak nodded in acknowledgement of the orders. She instructed her teammates to carry light talismans for protection and activate them in danger. She sternly emphasized safety above all and forbade reckless action. Then she signaled the team to move out. The 3 quietly entered the old warehouse area. In the darkness, a pair of glowing red eyes suddenly flared with menace. Leng Yu immediately warned them, shouting for vigilance. But it was too late. A terrifying aura swept through, knocking the group back. The giant python lunged out, its body twisted and ferocious. The 2 teammates swiftly threw daggers aimed at the monster's head. In an instant, the serpent's body froze solid. The group cheered, thinking they had slain it. But Leng Yue sensed something wrong and shouted for retreat. The beast shattered the ice and spewed green toxic gas from its mouth. The poison filled the air, making the team dizzy and collapse one by one. Struggling, Leng Yu covered her nose and sent a distress signal to headquarters about a dark python. After speaking, she fainted from exhaustion. The serpent slithered over, coiling around her with a feral, lustful glare. Scene shifted as Liu Ying's desperate voice pleaded for help. In the room, he sat facing Lin Tian, looking hopeless, saying only he could save them. Lin Tian examined the data and saw the monster had a rare dark attribute. He sighed regretfully, unable to absorb another power due to full attribute slots. Liu Ying anxiously said Leng Yu's condition was critical, and Lin Tian's fire energy was their only hope. Lin Tian frowned, suspiciously asking how he knew that secret. Liu Ying laughed awkwardly, admitting he had sent Leng Yue to monitor and that she saw him slay the mutant dog. Realizing the reason, Lin Tian instantly understood the mutant dog incident was orchestrated by the association. He coldly questioned Liu Ying for having him monitored, leaving the man embarrassed. Liu Ying hurriedly explained that it was all to protect the people. After consideration, Lin Tian agreed to cooperate, but demanded an end to surveillance. Liu Ying clasped his hands and firmly promised, asking how many supporters he needed. Lin Tian turned away and replied decisively that he needed no one else. In the factory, Leng Yue weakly awoke, panicking at the echoing screams. She saw the giant python devouring a man alive, horrified as it absorbed spiritual power. She realized the beast was evolving by consuming cultivators. Despite her frail body, she resolved to stop it to prevent a disaster for civilians. The monster noticed her and lunged, but Leng Yue cast an ice spell that made it roar in pain. Moments later, the ice shattered. She froze in terror, drenched in cold sweat. The crazed serpent counterattacked, slamming her to the ground. She coughed blood, horrified to see it had completed its evolution. In despair, she watched the beast approach, powerless to resist. A humorous voice echoed a man complaining about unpaid wages from this factory long ago. Leng Yue recognized him as Lin Tian and weakly called his name. He shouted back that Liu Ying had sent him to help and asked about the others. She anxiously told him to retreat, saying the beast had reached a high realm. He simply shrugged, calmly telling her to stay put and let him handle it. Lin Tian stepped forward to challenge the serpent to prove its strength. The monster roared and charged, making Leng Yue scream. She begged him to flee, but he was already prepared to fight. Lin Tian unleashed energy, lightning and fire swirling like a storm around him. He delivered a fierce thunder-fire punch straight at the serpent's head. The impact sent the python flying, crashing hard onto the warehouse floor. Leng Yue stood stunned, unable to believe what she saw. The monster's massive body hit the ground with a deafening boom. She cried out that they couldn't let it escape. Lin Tian drew the sword from his back, its blade flashing brightly. He reassured her, vowing the creature would pay with its life today. His eyes sparked lightning as he used the ultimate move, Thunderbolt Strike. The slash cut through the air, severing the python's tail. He calmly sheathed his sword and said coldly that it was over. Leng Yu leaned against the wall, amazed, asking if he had fully awakened. He looked at her, thinking the association truly aimed to help humanity, then frankly revealed he possessed dual fire and lightning attributes. Leng Yue froze, inwardly certain that Lin Tian would become a future supreme powerhouse. Back at the base, she reported to Liu Ying that Lin Tian admitted awakening dual fire and lightning attributes. Liu Ying smiled mysteriously, understanding why he wanted freedom of action. He decided such talent must be invited into the Spiritual Cultivation Association. Leng Yu cautiously asked whether to keep monitoring Lin Tian. Liu Ying suddenly changed the topic, teasing her about finding a boyfriend, leaving her stunned. During the meeting, members fiercely debated whether to reveal the revival of spiritual energy. Shaoli argued that with continuous incidents, they couldn't keep treating them as accidents. One man strongly objected, saying early disclosure would cause chaos. Shaoli countered that if they had announced earlier, residents near yesterday's factory would have evacuated in time. The man retorted that the incident had been handled properly anyway. The two grew angry, standing up and arguing heatedly. Liu Ying frowned and intervened, ordering them to stop immediately. Both turned to await his instruction. He gently told Xiaoli to sit, agreeing that without Lin Tian the outcome would have been disastrous. He further explained that revealing the news too soon would cause disorder, so a cautious plan was needed. Liu Ying pointed at the map, suggesting turning revived energy zones into tourist test sites to observe reactions. Xiaoli immediately agreed, and the man beside him praised the clever plan. The meeting continued as Liu Ying opened his notebook and moved to the next topic. He distributed Lin Tian's file, expressing intent to invite him to the association as a team leader. Some objected that the appointment was too hasty. Xiaoli agreed, saying he should start from the basics. Liu Ying argued that someone with dual attributes like Lin Tian deserved a high position or they'd lose his loyalty. Xiaoli suggested holding a strength test for objective evaluation. The man beside him agreed, emphasizing leadership mattered as much as power. Liu Ying smirked, warning that it was their choice, just don't regret it later. The scene shifted to a large building where Lin Tian was sleeping soundly. A noise startled him awake. He became alert, suspecting a thief in the house. Irritated, he stepped out, muttering about being poor yet still targeted. He flung the door open, shouting and daring the thief to show up. Suddenly, Leng Yue appeared from the kitchen, holding a broom, calmly greeting him. He replied, then quickly noticed something off, angrily asking why she was there after promising not to follow him. Leng Yu calmly said while sweeping that she was just staying temporarily. He froze, unsure how to react. They sat in the living room talking. He asked about the trial the association wanted him to join, and she confirmed it. He closed his eyes to think, then firmly refused due to limited time. Leng Yu explained it was a special test that could help cultivators progress faster. She added that the trial's location overlapped with a revived spiritual energy zone, offering great opportunities. Hearing that, he suddenly remembered Su Yuqing and asked if she would join. She confirmed Su Yuqing would participate, reminding him of her previous story about luck at that place. After thinking a while, he changed his mind, saying he'd join to meet her. The next day at the stadium, all participants gathered. Liu Ying stepped out, warning that the peaceful era was ending and death would soon be routine. He announced he would soon introduce the team leader for this trial. Li Qi wondered who the chosen one was. She recalled rumors of a cultivator whose body glowed with lightning but never believed them. Tianfang asked what she was thinking, breaking her thoughts. She shook her head, saying she was just curious about the new leader's identity. Tianfang arrogantly assumed it must be some powerful young master. He boasted he'd teach the new leader an unforgettable lesson. Li Qi sighed, advising him to stop bragging and avoid trouble. At that moment, Leng Yue walked beside Lin Tian, introducing the 5-person team, 2 women, 3 men, with only Su Yuqing having a strong ice attribute. She warned him to be cautious of Liu Tianfang, a former thug now awakened to the wind element but with a volatile temper. He nodded. As they entered the assembly area, Liu Ying declared the official leader had arrived. Lin Tian stepped out, his aura shining brightly, silencing everyone. Yuqing was stunned to recognize her savior. Li Qi was also shocked to see the man from the previous incident. Liu Ying announced Lin Tian as the team leader, but a voice interrupted in protest. Liu Tianfang loudly asked to speak, surprising Liu Ying, who inquired what was wrong. He sneered, demanding to test Lin Tian to see if he deserved to lead. Lin Tian smiled coldly, asking how he wanted to test. Liu Tianfang smugly insisted on a duel. Lin Tian replied icily that someone only at the First Spring Realm wasn't qualified to fight him. Insulted, Liu Tianfang roared in fury, demanding battle. He released fierce energy and lunged at Lin Tian. His opponent stayed calm, mocking that his strength was pitifully weak. Just as the clash was about to happen, Liu Ying intervened and stopped the attack. He sternly warned Liu Tianfang for defying orders. The man hurriedly explained he only wanted to test the leader's true power. He turned to others for support, saying no one would submit without proof. They hesitated, then nodded in agreement. Liu Ying calmly replied that Lin Tian's strength was already proven. He had slain the dark giant python and saved Leng Yue. Li Qi was stunned, exclaiming in shock upon learning he was the one who rescued Sister Leng. Liu Tianfang sneered, claiming Lin Tian just got lucky and couldn't have defeated a dark beast alone. Not wanting further argument, Liu Ying coldly warned that any more troublemakers would be expelled from the association, then began announcing the trial. He said the mission was to eliminate a creature called the Jingjue monster, humanoid and extremely fast. Before departure, he solemnly reminded them that the path of cultivation always walked beside death, casting a heavy atmosphere. Afterward, the team entered the gloomy forest. Lin Tian walked while observing, suspecting the monster might be hiding underground. Yu Ting worriedly asked if they had to go through the eerie area ahead. He looked around, noticing ancient trees wrapped in dense spiritual energy that grew stranger the closer they got. The group searched for a long time but found no sign of the mentioned creature. To prevent danger, Lin Tian warned everyone not to approach the ancient trees too closely. He led the team to continue scouting, ordering them to spread out and search. Yu Qing and Li Qi quickly complied. Tianfang arrogantly mocked Lin Tian, making the group burst into laughter. Lin Tian coldly warned that the stubborn would face their own consequences. Tianfang angrily walked off to inspect the strange tree himself. In front of the tree, he suspected its unusually strong spiritual aura. A subordinate suggested cultivating there. Tianfang greedily decided to absorb its energy for a breakthrough. Imagining being admired by beauties, he urged everyone to start cultivating immediately. The group instantly sat down to absorb the aura. Yu Qing worriedly asked, and Lin Tian reassured her he'd intervene if danger arose. Li Qi recalled having met Lin Tian before. Lin Tian was surprised and asked where. Li Qi said it was on the lightning-struck mountain. He recognized her and smiled, asking if she had been sightseeing that day. Li Qi, annoyed, said she got scolded by superiors because the incident was tied to him. She complained and explained the misunderstanding, and Lin Tian quickly apologized to ease her anger. He told the two women to take the chance to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy. Yu Qing asked why he didn't cultivate with them. He thought she was still gentle, like in a past life, and smiled, saying this energy didn't suit him. Li Qi was about to speak when a scream for help rang out. Lin Tian turned to look, shocked. Branches of the ancient tree suddenly wrapped around Tianfang's group and lifted them high. Tianfang trembled in fear, not understanding what was happening. The other two panicked and screamed for help. Tianfang forced himself to stay calm, drawing his blade to rescue them. He charged forward to attack. The blade struck hard but didn't move the branch at all. He panicked, realizing it was useless against the spirit tree. A subordinate shouted a warning and he turned just as he was struck. The branch lashed out violently, making him spit blood as he recalled the earlier warning about this place. Despair consumed him. He knew escape was impossible. The ancient tree emitted a fierce spiritual pressure like a living creature. Suddenly, a surge of spiritual energy from elsewhere cut through the branches. Tianfang struggled to stand, writhing in pain. Seeing Lin Tian stand in front of him, he was stunned. Lin Tian ordered retreat, but Tianfang insisted on staying to save others. Lin Tian praised his loyalty, and Tianfang glared back, saying a man must have integrity. He picked up his blade, intending to channel lightning fire energy into it. Lin Tian infused the blade with electricity, making it shine brilliantly. Tianfang was stunned, not understanding what the other was doing. Lin Tian decisively hurled the blade, sending it flying straight into the branch. The monster released its victims, who cried out in gratitude to Lin Tian and the team. The creature roared, its body covered in thick black mist. Lin Tian warned it was about to transform and told everyone to retreat immediately. The ground shook violently and screams echoed everywhere. The ancient tree split open, revealing a high-level tree demon with glowing red eyes. The crowd shouted in horror, demanding to know what the creature was. Lin Tian gathered his spiritual energy, reminding them that cultivation was the path of life and death. Lightning and fire enveloped him as he said firmly that anyone afraid of death should leave. The monster roared furiously and charged. He swiftly dodged the first strike, then flipped away from the next blow. The creature went berserk, launching vines to attack. Lin Tian stepped back, eyes cold. As the vines lunged, he ignited flames around himself. The fire surged forward, striking the target directly. He unleashed a punch combining lightning and fire for a fatal strike. The blow landed hard on the monster's back. It screamed miserably, its body trembling violently. Tianfeng was horrified, and Li Qi was astonished, admitting his terrifying power. She looked at Lin Tian with admiration, silently seeing him as a hero. At the association headquarters, news of his power sparked heated discussion. Liu Ying appeared, silencing the argument and affirming that the team leader position rightfully belonged to Lin Tian. Suddenly, the entire building shook violently. Leng Yue questioned in confusion, while Director Liu realized something critical. He declared that Earth's spiritual energy had fully revived and world laws were about to change. The screen displayed an image of a massive monster tree in the forest. Lin Tian observed it, recalling the opportunity Yu Qing once mentioned, noticing its wood attribute. Suddenly, a surge of ice spiritual energy burst upward beside the monster. Everyone was stunned, but Lin Tian immediately understood the cause. He realized the ice aura appeared due to Earth's revival. In his past life, Yu Qing wasn't strong enough to absorb it. She marveled at Lin Tian's punch that made the surrounding energy explode. He urged her to absorb the overflowing ice aura to strengthen herself, and she complied. The man silently vowed to rise with his female companion in this life to avenge past pain. He publicly announced the source of strong ice aura, suggesting she cultivate there first while the others regrouped to leave safely. That night, the group gathered at a restaurant, raising glasses to celebrate the woman's rapid advancement in cultivation. The newly ascended one humbly thanked everyone, crediting the leader and the whole team. One man changed his attitude, stepped forward to toast, apologized for his past arrogance, and asked for forgiveness. The three companions gratefully pledged loyalty, and the honored one modestly accepted them as siblings. Suddenly, a stern voice ordered everyone to leave immediately. A military officer appeared, announcing an urgent mission and requesting cooperation. Looking closely, Lin Tian sensed strong spiritual power from the stranger and wondered why the higher-ups weren't handling it. He suspected the arriving force might block their promotion opportunity if the incident involved one of their members. The soldier glanced at their table, noticing their calmness, and grew more cautious. He spoke more firmly, again demanding they leave at once. The formerly arrogant man grew angry, slammed the table, and cursed the soldier. The soldier coldly drew his weapon and approached, threatening with authority. The man showed no fear, pressing against the barrel and daring him to act. In the tense moment, a loud voice shouted to stop and de-escalate the situation. Earlier in a meeting, parties had argued over the sudden recovery of spiritual energy, leaving them unprepared. The commander wearily reminded them it wasn't the place for pointless debate. After calming them, he announced the top priority was to hunt down the mutant beast to protect civilians. He assigned 2 specific officers to track the target before dawn. Zheng Yi stood solemnly, pledging to complete the mission at any cost. The superior ordered the team to return to the border as the revived spiritual energy would cause chaos, and all obeyed in unison. He added that Zheng Yi must capture the mutant hound before dawn. Upon receiving orders, he quickly led the evacuation and warned that the beast could appear any time. Suddenly, he noticed someone standing outside the shop. Lin Tian shouted for them to stop. He stood up and urged his group not to clash with the army, so Tianfeng reluctantly backed down. He then told the soldier they would leave immediately. The soldier replied coldly, saying they were wise to do so. After leaving, Lin Tian sternly reminded everyone that spiritual energy had fully awakened, and the world was now perilous. He told Wu Ting to cultivate carefully, and she nodded obediently. As they left the shop, a familiar voice called out, making him stop with teary eyes. The caller laughed and warmly used his old nickname. Zheng Yi happily recognized his old friend and patted his shoulder. Everyone was curious, so Lin Tian introduced him as his close high school friend, Sun Zheng Yi. Zheng Yi joked, calling himself Lin Tian's father, but Lin Tian retorted, calling him good grandson, making everyone laugh. Seeing them cheerful, Li Qi and Tianfeng excused themselves to leave. Lin Tian looked at his friend's uniform and praised his military achievements. Zheng Yi smiled and revealed that classified information had just been declassified. Lin Tian immediately guessed it was about the global recovery of spiritual energy. Zheng Yi leaned in and whispered that the area was sealed off due to an extremely strong mutant dog, and his unit came to protect the civilians. Lin Tian pondered, suspecting the beast might be the result of Lan Yue's past experiments. A soldier reported the civilians had been evacuated. Zheng Yi was satisfied, waiting for the monster to fall into their trap, while Lin Tian wished to observe the army's strength. He patted his friend's shoulder, smiling as he asked to witness the hunt firsthand. Zheng Yi thought for a moment, then agreed, thinking it was good for him to see how the world had changed. He ordered Zhao Zhang to escort Lin Tian to a safe observation zone outside the combat area, and the soldier obeyed. Xiao Zheng guided him and warned to follow orders strictly. Lin Tian smiled and agreed. Finally, he was brought to a safe observation point. From there, he quietly watched, noting that although the soldiers were only at the initial cultivation stage, their coordination and aura were strong. A strange sound echoed, making him alert. Inside, a soldier shouted that the mutant hound had appeared. The moment the beast lunged out, the entire squad opened fire in unison to surround it. Bullets pierced its body without leaving any wounds, enraging the beast even further as it attacked ferociously. Outside, Lin Tian was shocked, judging the beast to be at least third stage, noting that revived spiritual energy made such monsters common. Seeing the danger, Zheng Yi rushed forward to command, ordering regular troops to retreat and the special unit to hold the line. He ordered the deployment of the Xuanwu formation to bind the beast, and the formation quickly surrounded it from 4 directions. A soldier grabbed the creature's tail. 2 others attacked from both flanks simultaneously. Their combined strikes made the mutant hound roar in agony and rage. Seizing the moment, Zheng Yi gathered spiritual power and shouted a battle cry. He unleashed a powerful blow directly at the beast's body. From afar, Lin Tian watched and smiled slightly at their skilled coordination despite their low cultivation. He thought he had overestimated the threat and believed it was only a matter of time before they subdued it. Suddenly, the strike failed to bring it down, instead driving the hound insane as its body swelled and demonic energy thickened. Lin Tian turned sharply, his heart trembling. Zheng Yi's face changed as he realized the beast was evolving, shouting to retreat or they would all perish. But a terrifying shockwave erupted, blasting the entire team away. Through the dust, the creature's massive form faded, disappearing into the dark. Moments later, it reappeared, transformed body covered in spikes, eyes glowing red, exuding killing intent. Zheng Yi cried out in horror, recognizing the extreme danger. He gritted his teeth, admitting the monster had truly evolved. Some soldiers panicked and asked what to do, but Zheng Yi shouted that they would fight to the death to protect civilians. He and the special unit charged straight into battle. The mutant hound roared and counterattacked savagely. In an instant, the whole group was flung away, falling like leaves. Outside the barrier, onlookers were frozen in terror. Zheng Yi lay gravely wounded, bleeding heavily amid the ruins. As the beast lunged to finish him, a bolt of thunderous power suddenly struck down to stop it. Zheng Yi weakly lifted his head and called his friend's name with emotion. Lin Tian frowned in fury, shouting a death sentence upon the monster that hurt his comrade. He channeled lightning, releasing a palm strike that made the hound scream in agony, its body trembling under the storm. With a single move, he completely overpowered it, forcing the beast back instantly. Zheng Yi stared wide-eyed, unable to believe his friend was a cultivator. Lin Tian drew his blade, smiling faintly, saying he'd finish the beast first, then talk. Those around were stunned and terrified to realize he was a master who could wound a 4th-stage beast in one strike. Lightning surged from his body, his figure shining brightly in the night. The flash of thunder lit the sky like a falling star. Feeling the killing intent, the mutant hound turned in fear and fled. Lin Tian spoke coldly, warning that anyone else could be spared, but whoever harmed his brother would die no matter where they hid. He hurled a bolt of lightning that pierced the beast's body. The creature roared as blood sprayed amid the thunder's roar. Soldiers quickly lifted Zheng Yi, who was stunned by his friend's terrifying lightning power. The mutant hound howled, its eyes blazing red with fury. It charged forward, forcing Lin Tian to unleash a stronger spell. The dagger in his hand glowed as his aura surged. He slashed down, splitting the beast in half mid-air. Those around whispered in shock, believing that with more time his power would far exceed imagination. Zheng Yi laughed proudly, praising his extraordinary brother from the past. Lin Tian looked at the melting blade, surprised the military weapon couldn't withstand thunder flame, and resolved to find a better one. Zheng Yi cheerfully ran over, punched his friend's shoulder, laughing and teasing him for hiding his power, while Lin Tian worried about his injuries and tried to stop him. He waved it off, saying to drag the beast away for disposal, then they'd go drink together. The scene shifted elsewhere. On a screen, footage of him single-handedly slaying the mutant beast was replayed. Someone asked if that was his friend. Zheng Yi replied it wasn't just a friend but a brother in arms through life and death. Fei pondered that recruiting him would greatly strengthen the military and asked if he'd been invited to join. Zheng Yi scratched his head, saying he had invited him, but his friend now belonged to the Cultivator Association. Fifi grew annoyed, saying that Liu Ying was keeping him, and declared she would personally go demand him. The next morning, Lin Tian returned home with a hamburger and Coke, realizing he forgot Lan Yue's share and saw her waiting. She looked at him and asked if he had joined the military operation last night. He calmly replied it was just helping comrades in danger and asked if something was wrong. Lan Yue said the commander's daughter had been calling Director Liu all morning, wanting to recruit him into the army, disturbing the official. She added that Director Liu politely refused, but the girl would not give up, warning him to be cautious. Lin Tian smirked teasingly, asking if that girl planned to drag him home as her husband. At that moment, his phone rang loudly. He answered, hearing Zheng Yi's tense, urgent voice. A female voice followed, introducing herself as Shen Fifi, Zheng Yi's superior. Lin Tian froze, glancing at Lan Yue warily. Fifi explained she knew of a place filled with powerful fire-type spiritual energy and invited him to investigate. Hearing it involved the fire attribute, he was pleased since he was seeking to strengthen that element. That night at a construction site, workers found a floating blue flame. Fifi came to investigate and discovered it was ghost fire. At first, they thought it was superstition and called a Taoist to suppress it. Unexpectedly, the Taoist's ritual only made the ghost fire more violent. The flames spread, burning down the site. The army sealed the area but remained helpless. In Fifi's car, she explained that revived spiritual energy made the fire grow fiercer, and without containment, it would become a disaster. He asked if the fire was still spreading. She nodded, saying they could only expand the quarantine zone to limit damage. Suddenly, she teasingly asked about his relationship with Lan Yue. Lin Tian nervously clarified that she was merely assigned by the director to supervise him, but Fifi smiled and told him to listen first. She then spoke seriously, saying that with global spiritual energy reborn, a cultivator army must be formed to face hidden threats. However, strong cultivators were arrogant and hard to discipline, while Zheng Yi praised him as both virtuous and capable. He frowned, realizing she wanted him to train new cultivator recruits. Fifi nodded, confirming and promising full benefits if he agreed. He shook his head slightly, refusing since he wasn't ready to bear such responsibility. He wanted to focus on training those entrusted to him by Director Liu first. Fifi smiled, feeling even more respect for his sense of honor. When they arrived, the site was chaotic civilians panicking while soldiers warned them to stay back from the fire. As the two prepared to enter, a voice called out from behind. A familiar tone shouted, "Lin Tian, why are you here?" Jiang Wu and Li Xiaodong appeared, staring at him in surprise. Lin Tian frowned, wondering why that man was there. Jiang Wu sneered, saying Lin Tian was the one who once made Xiaodong infatuated, though he seemed somewhat capable now. Reporters immediately turned their cameras toward them, making him inwardly sigh at being dragged into media chaos. Zhang Wu acted pretentiously, declaring he and Xiaodong were from different worlds, while Xiaodong coldly said Lin Tian had missed his chance. The crowd cheered and laughed, treating it like a public love drama. Lin Tian only sighed, too tired to argue with those childish fools. Fei curiously asked what was going on, but as soon as she finished, all the cameras swung toward her. Fei's stunning beauty left Zhang Wu speechless, realizing Xiaodong couldn't compare. He immediately stepped forward, smiling and introducing himself as Jiang Wu. Fei ignored him, turned to Lin Tian, and asked about the person beside him, leaving Jiang Wu awkwardly standing there. Lin Tian dismissed the couple with contempt and urged to leave. Then the two turned and walked away, leaving Jiang Wu frozen in place. The crowd burst into laughter, mocking that the young man was right to reject that girl. Xiaodong trembled with rage, vowing revenge for the woman who dared act superior to her. Seeing Jiang Wu still staring at Fei, Xiaodong snapped jealously, asking if he had stared enough since she was already gone. Jiang Wu scratched his head innocently, saying it was just professional reflex, making Xiaodong fume and think she wouldn't bother with him if not for money. Lin Tian and Fei reached the sealed spiritual zone. Fei reported to the soldiers that the fire inside was intensifying and warnings must be expanded. Fei said only by handling it directly could expansion be avoided. Lin Tian gazed into the distance. Fei carefully inspected, then accurately pinpointed the location, impressing everyone. It turned out to be a storage area filled with fire attribute spiritual energy. Fei held a strange device, explaining it was a spiritual energy density detector, simple but effective. Lin Tian ordered the soldiers to expand the warning perimeter by 5 kilometers, possibly up to 10 kilometers. Suddenly, everyone was startled as a soldier shouted, asking what he planned to do. Lin Tian stepped forward, walking deeper into the energy zone. The soldiers panicked and urgently called the deputy commander for orders. Fei watched nervously, wondering if he could really control the flames. Lin Tian fixed his gaze on the blue fire ahead. The system detected massive fire attribute energy and asked if he wished to absorb it. He smirked ambitiously, replying, "Why not try?" He then sat down, closed his eyes, and began absorbing the energy. Power surged violently, stirring the air and shocking everyone around. Fei shielded her eyes from the wind, fearing that if he absorbed it all, he might ascend to a higher realm. She wondered what level cultivator he was. The absorption process gradually completed. The system emitted a notification. When the fire attribute reached level 2, the reward was a chance to draw a new fire-type cultivation art. His entire body radiated immense power. The system congratulated him for upgrading fire spirit energy to LV2 and began the new art draw. The system repeated multiple alerts and draw messages, heightening the chaos. A golden light burst forth, startling Lin Tian as a golden signal appeared. The system announced he had obtained the golden technique Qing Yan Bu Mi, Eternal Azure Flame, a fire-type art that deals wide area damage, along with 10 bonus points. Excited, Lin Tian commanded immediate absorption of the energy. The spiritual flames in the air dispersed and condensed. Fei and the soldiers were horrified, suspecting he was the incarnation of a fire god. Lin Tian calmly walked toward Shen Fei. She rushed over to check on him, and he assured her he was fine and thanked her for her help. Suddenly, Fei's energy detector blared loudly. She panicked, threw the device, and it exploded. Lin Tian reacted swiftly, hugging Fei to protect her. Fei's heart raced, feeling a sudden desire to possess this man. The scene shifted to a luxurious restaurant. Fei questioned Lin Tian about absorbing all the fire spiritual energy, and he confirmed it. She curiously asked about his current cultivation realm. He replied he was at the peak of the 4th stage of the Brave Spring realm, nearing the 5th. Fei was shocked, not expecting him to still be at that level. He awkwardly explained his unusual cultivation method. Fei understood and didn't press him, and he appreciated her smile. She invited him to join the military department, saying it offered better benefits than his old group. He politely declined, saying he wasn't ready to join, and she didn't insist. Fei Fei said she would report to Commander Shen, and he agreed without objection. Night fell, and Leng Yue sat quietly in her silent room. She received a message from Liu Ying to summon Lin Tian for the Dark Knight Phantom mission and to be careful with the spiritual energy recovery data. She quickly confirmed. Thinking about Lin Tian's reaction, she pondered briefly, then stood up. She neatly closed her notebook. She stepped out of the room and headed outside. At dawn, the smell of food woke Lin Tian. He cheerfully went to the kitchen, praising Leng Yu's cooking. Getting no reply, he looked around in surprise. He suddenly found Shen Fei Fei in the house and asked in shock how she had the key. Fei Fei smiled, saying she was authorized by the military to use his house as a temporary base. Lin Tian protested angrily, calling it unreasonable. He hurried to find Leng Yue, knocking loudly and scolding. But the room was empty, and no one answered. Fei Fei explained that when she arrived, the house was already empty and guessed they had left earlier. Lin Tian suddenly noticed a suspicious item nearby. He picked up a notebook and opened it. When he read the line Dark Knight Phantom Mission, his face grew heavy. He feared Leng Yue had acted on her own without warning him. He hastily grabbed his coat and rushed out, shocking Fei Fei. He shouted, "Leng Yue is in danger! I must find Director Liu now!" At that moment, in a distant place, amid the vast ocean, waves surged fiercely. Leng Yue quietly dove into the deep sea, wondering if she relied too much on Lin Tian. She sighed, realizing her strength was still too weak. She continued diving deeper. The surrounding seawater grew dense with pressure. She erected a barrier underwater. She rejoiced at her success, but danger struck immediately. A chilling aura suddenly enveloped her. She turned around in panic. A massive sea monster lunged at her with its jaws wide open. Leng Yu immediately counterattacked with a powerful ice pillar strike. But right after, she felt her spiritual power fluctuate abnormally. Thick black mist spread, wrapping tightly around her body. Her breathing grew heavy, chest tightening painfully. In panic, she realized her life force was being drained bit by bit. She struggled upward, determined not to let the monster grow stronger. The creature swung its massive tentacles to attack. The heavy blow made her cough blood and fall weakly, despairing she'd be devoured alive. In that life-or-death moment, hope was nearly gone. Lin Tian appeared just in time, rushing forward to catch her. He asked worriedly, and she weakly warned that the monster was absorbing spiritual energy. He held her tightly and sped toward the surface to escape. The two of them shot out from the depths of the sea. On shore and safe, Fei Fei ran up shouting, asking about their condition and the beast's fate. Lin Tian supported Leng Yue, saying she should be treated first, and Fei Fei quickly helped take her to the hospital. He frowned slightly, secretly deciding to return and slay the monster once she recovered. The scene shifted to the hospital. Leng Yu lay still on the bed, her face pale. Liu Ying gratefully shook Lin Tian's hand, praising him for saving the girl. He humbly replied and asked to hear the mission details. Liu Ying sternly explained the origin of the demon. The creature was called the Dark Knight Phantom, tracked for half a year. Lin Tian was shocked by that duration. Liu Ying confirmed, saying back then only a few people could use spiritual energy. No one had ever clearly seen its form, only that it carried dark attributes. The being lived deep under the sea, devouring spiritual energy to grow stronger. With the return of spiritual energy, it became extremely ferocious and could threaten humanity. Liu Ying placed all hope on Lin Tian. He agreed to help, but made one personal request. Late at night at Shen Fei Fei's house, she called her grandfather, questioning why Lin Tian was assigned such a dangerous mission. He replied it was a test for both him and the nation. Fei Fei objected, saying the mission was too perilous from the start. Fei Fei soaked in warm water, still troubled by the Dark Knight Phantom mission. She recalled the report an elite team had failed, even with a Brave Spring third-stage cultivator. Her grandfather sternly said there was no other choice and had sent 3 masters to aid Lin Tian. He further warned that with spiritual energy recovery, the world's laws were shifting. If they didn't act, the nation would be devoured, and the Phantom Zone was vital for survival. Fei Fei ended the call, her mind in turmoil. She softly prayed for Lin Tian's safe return. On a vehicle heading toward the harbor, Yuxing called out to Captain Lin. He turned and responded. She curiously asked why only she came along this time while others were absent. Lin Tian replied that among the team, only she had reached Brave Spring 3rd stage. He wanted to test her combat ability. Yuxing took the documents and promised not to betray his trust. He told her to treat this as training and mentioned reinforcements from the military would arrive soon. Yuxing solemnly vowed to give her all for the captain. The driver announced they had reached the rendezvous point. Both got out and walked toward the windy harbor. Waves crashed loudly under the crimson sunset. 3 others were already waiting. Chu Mu looked at them, commenting that the new generation of cultivators was quite different. He silently assessed Lin Tian, a 4th-stage cultivator, calling him a rare talent, then asked if he was from the military. Chu Mu introduced himself and demanded they not delay the mission. Yuxing grew angry, retorting that Chu Mu was arrogant for looking down on the captain. The brown-haired girl intervened, advising them not to argue before facing danger. The blond man turned away, urging the group to move out. Lin Tian smiled to calm Yuxing, telling her to stay focused on the mission. The team dove into the deep sea. Immediately, thick demonic miasma spread. Chu Mu panicked as his spiritual energy drained, and others realized it was dark, corrosive energy. Yuxing covered her mouth from the stench, complaining she might vomit. Lin Tian sighed softly. He enveloped her in spiritual energy, assuring her most of the influence was blocked and encouraging her not to fail expectations. Yuxing firmly replied, "Yes, Captain." Chu Mu frowned mockingly, thinking the boy must be trembling with fear. When he saw Lin Tian and Yuxing remain calm, he was stunned. He couldn't understand why they seemed unaffected. Envy arose as Chu Mu assumed they were recklessly burning energy to endure. The blonde girl suddenly screamed a warning. A huge dark shadow slithered through the gloomy sea. Chu Mu turned pale, shouting that the monster was close. A sharp-toothed, red-eyed sea beast lunged forward, terrifying everyone. Yukang raised her hand to attack, but Lin Tian immediately signaled her to stop. Lin Tian held up his hand, telling Yuxing not to act rashly since the fish was merely an illusion. She was confused by his meaning. Chu Mu ignored him and struck straight at the fish. The fish vanished instantly. He arrogantly glanced at Lin Tian, mocking that hesitation here only leads to death. Yuxing shouted angrily that it was an illusion. How could he not see that? Chu Mu snapped back, denying it and accusing her of nonsense. But his teammate quickly warned him to stay alert. Suddenly, massive tentacles emerged from the darkness, wrapping around the group. A gigantic octopus surfaced, its tentacles thrashing wildly in the deep water. The blonde girl screamed that it was a Brave Spring 5th stage beast, realizing why the last team failed. Yuxing instantly unleashed Ice Scythe Circle Slash, striking at the tentacles. Chu Mu panicked, warning she wasn't its match. She ignored him, pouring all her energy in, determined not to disappoint Lin Tian. Her icy blade severed one tentacle. The monster roared in agony, churning the seawater violently. Yuxing cheered, proudly telling the captain she had done it. But seconds later, the tentacle regenerated and lunged with terrifying speed. Chu Mu shouted to retreat, but before he could dodge, he was struck. He spat blood as his body was flung through the bloody water. Yuxing struggled to stay upright, launching another strike without hesitation. The beast easily shattered the ice and countered furiously with its tentacle. She panicked, fearing she would die in the ocean's depths. Suddenly, a golden light flashed, and a deep voice said, "Well done." Yuxing saw Lin Tian appear, blocking the blow for her, protecting and reminding her to stay cautious. His power stunned everyone. Witnessing that might, the other two were astonished. Chu Mu couldn't believe Lin Tian could stop the tentacle bare-handed, his spiritual flame utterly unlike normal. They stood dazed, wondering where such terrifying power came from. The monster glared at Lin Tian, and he calmly said he would repay the wound it gave Leng Yue. He drew his brilliantly glowing sword, preparing to use the newly mastered immortal flame technique. Without hesitation, Lin Tian charged straight at the monster. The sword's tip traced a blinding arc of light. The first slash struck directly at the monster's head. Chu-Mu snorted disdainfully, believing no weapon could harm a fifth-stage creature. But Lin Tian silently chanted, activating the Azure Immortal Flame technique. Instantly, spiritual fire erupted, unleashing immense energy. He spun and delivered another decisive strike. Golden flames engulfed the monster's massive body. The sea blazed, light piercing the deep waters. A thunderous explosion shook the ocean's surface violently. Chu-Mu stood frozen, speechless at the sight. He trembled, asking what kind of power that was. In terror, he suddenly recalled the commander's words. Back then, he had doubted Lin Tian's strength, thinking a rogue cultivator without military backing couldn't be so powerful. But the commander had only smiled and said, "Chu-Mu, you judge like a frog in a well, knowing nothing of the vast sky beyond." The commander once said, "Other cultivators see Lin Tian as mere dust beneath the sky. Someone like him must be recruited, never made an enemy." Now Chu-Mu truly understood, secretly admiring and wondering how far Lin Tian could reach with military training. He glanced at Yu-Qing Lin Tian's subordinate, who stayed calm amid danger, a third-stage cultivator at a young age, showing great promise. Chu-Mu let out a bitter laugh, admitting to himself he was outdated. The brown-haired girl supported the exhausted blonde, worriedly asking if Chu-Mu was hurt. Chu-Mu awkwardly apologized for only thinking of himself. The blonde laughed, saying he'd owe her a drink later to make up for it. Chu-Mu cheerfully agreed, promising to drink until he forgot his fear from the battle. He approached Lin Tian, sincerely thanking him for saving everyone's lives and admitting he had once looked down on him. Lin Tian smiled lightly, saying Chu-Mu only did his duty protecting others and needn't feel guilty. Chu-Mu bowed and thanked him again. Yu-Qing frowned, covering her nose, urging everyone to leave because of the heavy stench of blood and foul air. As they prepared to ascend, Lin Tian suddenly stopped. Yu-Qing curiously asked why, and he told them to go first, wanting to check the seabed once more. After speaking, he dove back into the deep water. In the distance, a glimmering light caught his attention. He was stunned to see two rare stardew flowers. Not one but two blossoms radiated mystical spiritual light. He picked them, secretly pleased they could help Yu-Qing and Ling Yue advance in cultivation. Then he swam back to the surface. Reaching the top, he found no teammates around and grew alert. Suddenly, a male voice called his name from behind. A handsome young man stepped out from the shadows. Lin Tian was surprised he couldn't sense the man's aura and asked for his identity. The man handed him a card, introducing himself as Lei Na, the lady's personal guard. Lei Na said the lady was busy with her own mission, but told him to contact the number on the card if he ever needed help. Lin Tian curiously asked who the lady was, and Lei Na replied it was Commander Shen's granddaughter, Shen Fei Fei. He nodded, realizing only she would have such a high-ranking guard. Observing Lei Na, he couldn't gauge his cultivation level, thinking he might have reached the Iron Vein realm. He asked why Lei Na sought him and where his companions were. Lei Na replied Yu-Qing had been picked up by a private car, while Chu-Mu and the others were taken in by the military. He added that he stayed because the commander himself had ordered a private meeting with Lin Tian. Lin Tian paused in surprise, asking if it was the commander-in-chief of the military. Lei Na nodded in confirmation, opened the car door, and respectfully invited him in. Inside, Commander Shen smiled kindly, saying his granddaughter had mentioned Lin Tian many times. He asked about the sealed heavenly flame in Lin Tian's body, and Lin Tian confirmed it. He nodded, affirming it was true. Commander Shen admired him, saying the era of spiritual revival was truly miraculous. He praised Lin Tian as a national pride for becoming a powerhouse without military backing. But Lin Tian humbly said it was luck. The commander smiled, recognizing the young man's good morals and that he was a safe choice for family. He worried that the chaotic world might harm those unprepared for the changes. Lin Tian's resolve reassured the commander that he would fight against anomalies as long as he lived. Commander Shen seriously advised him to strengthen his power not to restrict, but to secure his future. Dark spiritual energy was considered the greatest threat as it turned beings insane. Only his type of spiritual energy could counter it, so he must grow stronger for himself and the nation. Lin Tian promised to cultivate diligently. The commander handed him a secure military phone and told him to contact directly if needed. Lin Tian thanked him awkwardly and mentioned a favor to ask. He presented a sword, explaining it was a weapon Elder Liu had entrusted to the bureau chief. However, the sword couldn't withstand his spiritual energy. Commander Shen examined the damage, shocked since it was Elder Liu's treasure, and wondered about Lin Tian's power. He assured he would handle it and promised a sturdier sword within days, pleasing Lin Tian. After leaving the car, Lin Tian reflected, reminding himself never to drop his guard. Suddenly his phone rang. He answered, asking if Chief Liu needed something. Liu Ying panikedly reported that Leng Yue had an accident, making Lin Tian's face pale. In the emergency room, doctors said her heartbeat slowed and suggested extracting the dark spiritual energy. One doctor objected, saying forced extraction might agitate the remaining energy and cause chaos, leaving everyone unsure. Outside, Liu Ying blamed herself, thinking it was her fault. Lin Tian approached, telling the bureau chief he had arrived. The chief quickly stood, anxious since Leng Yue had been fine when he left. Liu Ying asked if Lin Tian understood the nature of dark spiritual energy. Lin Tian replied it made living beings lose their sanity. Liu Ying explained that Leng Yue had always been strong-willed and had recently taken a mission alone out of self-doubt. He regretted not assigning her to guide Lin Tian during the mission. Lin Tian hurriedly asked the system for a way to save her, and it instructed him to touch Leng Yue's body for 3 minutes to analyze treatment. He rushed straight into the emergency room. Despite the doctor's shocked looks, one shouted for nurses to throw him out. Lin Tian pushed a doctor aside, shouting that if they couldn't save her, they shouldn't interfere. He held Leng Yue's hand to let the system begin the scan. His actions angered everyone, who scolded him for being rude and disrupting treatment, risking the bureau chief's blame. Dr. Liu furiously called security, not knowing how Lin Tian had entered. Liu Ying calmly walked in, saying he had authorized Lin Tian's entry. Dr. Liu awkwardly explained, worried about Leng Yue's condition. Liu Ying calmly said to let Lin Tian try, and if he failed, he would take full responsibility. Dr. Liu hesitated, confused about what kind of person Lin Tian was to earn Liu Ying's respect. The system displayed a treatment process using flower essence dew, thunder spiritual energy infusion to cleanse dark aura, and maintaining the link for 3 hours. Lin Tian announced he had a way to save her, but needed everyone to step back. Dr. Liu doubted him, questioning why everyone must leave. Lin Tian released a surge of thunder aura, warning he could protect only the patient. Liu Ying immediately ordered everyone to obey. The whole room complied and stepped out. Lin Tian took out flower essence dew and crushed it. He mixed the powder with water. Then he lifted Leng Yue and helped her drink it. As the medicine took effect, her body trembled and turned cold and pale. Lin Tian quickly channeled thunder spiritual energy, beginning the healing. Hours passed. Leng Yu slowly opened her eyes. She looked at him in shock, calling his name weakly. He was relieved and overjoyed that she woke up. He advised her not to take such risks again. She asked if he was the one who saved her. He smiled tiredly, saying he was lucky to find flower essence dew under the sea to save her. She turned away, doubting herself for holding him back, surprising him. She admitted that though she was at 3rd-tier strength, she was still weaker than him. Lin Tian replied softly that it wasn't her weakness, he was simply far beyond. Leng Yu lowered her head, saying no one had ever made her admit defeat before, not even Chief Liu, who believed she'd surpass him in 5 years. Lin Tian waved his hand, telling her to rest and meet him at the outer forest for recovery training. The next morning arrived. In the forest, Leng Yue fought beasts. She moved swiftly like the wind, finishing her foes cleanly. Lin Tian observed and praised her strength. He noted the defeated wolf was a peak 3rd realm beast, proving she had reached the 4th realm. Leng Yue coldly replied she didn't need praise and knew her own limits. Lin Tian smiled, saying the training was nearly over. Suddenly, a violent explosion echoed from afar. Leng Yu froze, asking what that explosion was. The system warned of an intense surge of dark spiritual energy, urging extreme caution. Lin Tian concluded the blast was caused by a dark energy outbreak in the forest, shocking Leng Yue. In another forest area, a group of youths were happily camping. Shang Wu boasted had grilled big skewered fish for Xiaodong to enjoy. She pouted and refused, acting upset. She turned to help Xiaojue set up the tent, while the brown-haired guy teased Xiang Wu about his quarrel with Xiaodong. Shang Wu awkwardly explained Xiaodong was angry because he looked at another girl, prompting more teasing. Shang Wu got mad, bragging about how attractive that girl was, making the brown-haired guy mock him further. Xiao Shu pinched her boyfriend's hand in warning. She scolded him sharply to go pitch the tent, and he hurried to appease her. Shang Wu sighed and went outside to gather firewood. He wandered deeper into the forest in search of wood. Suddenly, he saw a strange glowing purple flower and curiously approached it. He recalled news about the global era of spiritual revival. The world was filled with mysterious opportunities. He stared at the flower, mesmerized. A seductive woman's image appeared. Filled with ambition, he shouted to grasp power and vowed to surpass Lin Tian. In madness, he crushed and swallowed the flower, muttering that he'd make Lin Tian lose everything. Moments later, his body trembled violently, eyes rolling white. Dark aura spread, engulfing his entire body. He laughed maniacally, savoring the taste of dark power. Screams for help echoed from afar. Xiaodong's group was surrounded by a pack of wolves. Shang Wu charged in, blasting the wolves away. Xiaodong screamed in panic, warning they were mutant wolves. He laughed arrogantly, saying they were nothing to fear. Xiaodong was stunned by his sudden overwhelming power. The brown-haired guy cheered, saying Jiang Wu had become a spiritual cultivator, terrifying Xiaodong. She smiled proudly, believing that powerful man belonged to her. At the same time, Lin Tian warned Leng Yue to stay alert as they entered a dark aura zone. Suddenly, he froze and shouted for her to stop. He pulled her up onto a treetop. Below them, the mutant wolf pack fled in panic. Leng Yu asked in surprise what scared the wolves away. Lin Tian spotted wolf corpses with deep wounds oozing black blood. He immediately recognized it as a sign of dark spiritual energy. When Leng Yu suggested reporting to Chief Liu, Lin Tian decided to investigate first to avoid causing alarm. He dashed down to intercept the ferocious wolf leader. He solemnly swore to Commander Shen that he wouldn't let them invade the city. He unleashed thunder and lightning, incinerating the entire pack instantly. He ordered Leng Yue to retreat quickly. After moving some distance, they spotted a small camp, making Leng Yue suspect someone lived there. In a brief moment of Lin Tian's distraction, Xiang Wu suddenly appeared and attacked. Leng Yue reacted swiftly, blocking the strike immediately. Xiang Wu looked at her with jealousy, annoyed that she was as beautiful as the previous girl and resentful toward Lin Tian. He smirked teasingly, acting shameless, making Leng Yue wary and confused about who he was. Xiang Wu pointed at Lin Tian, saying he wanted to teach him a lesson for a personal grudge. Leng Yu angrily scolded him, calling it murder, not a joke. Lin Tian sternly asked if he had absorbed a dark relic to become a cultivator. Shang Wu laughed loudly, boasting that he now possessed unmatched power. Lin Tian accused him of causing the wolf riot that could endanger civilians, but Shang Wu arrogantly dismissed human life. Leng Yu raged at his cruelty, while Lin Tian firmly said there was no need for words, only action. Shang Wu sneered, praising Lin Tian for finally daring to fight him. He released thick, dark spiritual energy with fierce momentum. Laughing wildly, he declared he would show the true power of a cultivator. Dark energy filled the air, pressing down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian calmly assessed that his opponent's strength was about second realm, realizing the new world had grown beyond control. Suddenly, Xiang Wu launched a sneak attack from behind. Lin Tian spun and blocked it effortlessly with lightning speed. Xiang Wu smirked mockingly, admitting his opponent was tough. Lin Tian coldly scoffed, saying that was the full extent of his petty power. Xiang Wu roared in fury, challenging him to a life-and-death battle. He attacked madly, but every strike was easily countered by Lin Tian. He was horrified that he couldn't even touch his foe despite using all his strength. Lin Tian coldly concluded that he was far too weak. His sharp gaze compared him to a faint summer moon if he were ordinary. And if a cultivator, then just dust beneath the heavens, then delivered a decisive punch that felled him. Xiang Wu collapsed, stunned, unable to believe his defeat. His friends panicked and ran to check on him. Xiaodong stood frozen, unable to believe Lin Tian was that powerful. She clenched her teeth in regret for ever opposing him. Lin Tian flew to Leng Yue, ordering the capture of the group for investigation into their fortune source. She agreed and immediately reported to Chief Liu to seal the mountain. Xiang Wu knelt, writhing in pain, admitting defeat to Lin Tian while seething with hatred. A whisper echoed in his mind, asking if he desired power. The faint voice grew clearer, dragging him into a dark space where a demon awaited. The creature's glowing red eyes pierced into him. Xiang Wu screamed, begging for absolute power to surpass Lin Tian, willing to give up everything. The demon released a terrifying aura that spread around. Dark spiritual energy surged directly into his forehead. His body erupted with power as he screamed in ecstasy. At that moment, Leng Yue ordered her team to escort the group back to the association for investigation. Suddenly, Song Wu's violent energy burst out uncontrollably. Lin Tian reacted instantly, pulling Leng Yue away from the explosive aura. The demonic pressure around the area skyrocketed. Plants withered instantly upon contact with his breath. Those nearby had their spiritual energy drained and eyes rolled white. Terrified screams echoed in despair. Lin Tian solemnly confirmed that the commander's warning had come true, leaving Leng Yue shaken. A shadowy figure enveloped Xiang Wu as a chilling voice resounded. In moments, the demon fully possessed his body, laughing and declaring its return to the mortal world. Leng Yu was horrified by his instant breakthrough. Lin Tian warned that the man they knew was gone. The system identified the creature as a Dark Monarch low-rank class. An emergency mission appeared. Eliminate the Dark Monarch to obtain a new cultivation pill. Lin Tian studied the creature, both curious and cautious about its attacks. The demon mocked Xiang Wu's body as too weak to form a perfect vessel. He glanced at Lin Tian and Leng Yue, craving to devour their strong spiritual auras. Deciding Leng Yue was the easier target, he lunged to strike. An arrow of dark energy sliced through the air toward her. Lin Tian quickly chanted a spell and cast a technique. Flames erupted, blocking the attack. The demon laughed gleefully, praising the young opponent's agility. Lin Tian coldly demanded its identity and Xiang Wu's whereabouts. The Dark Monarch replied that humans had no right to know, only to submit or perish. Lin Tian frowned, saying if it wouldn't learn manners, he'd have to teach them. The demon sneered, mocking humanity's audacity to defy him. He created a demonic space, declaring he would make them taste pure despair. Darkness enveloped Lin Tian, consuming all light. Leng Yu cried out his name in panic. She rushed into the darkness. She unleashed all her power in a counterattack, but her strike hit a dark barrier without leaving a mark. The demon laughed triumphantly, saying their struggle was useless and they should let him devour them. Lin Tian's hand suddenly pierced through the dark barrier, shattering despair. The Dark Monarch was terrified, eyes wide in disbelief. The dark orb cracked, releasing a radiant light that tore through the night. Lin Tian broke free, eyes cold as steel, mockingly asked if that was his full power. The demon roared, claiming breaking the darkness didn't mean victory. Leng Yu ran over, suggesting they fight together. He refused, saying he wanted to test his own limits. She was confused, unsure what his full power meant. Lin Tian unleashed thunder and fire, aura surging violently in response. He charged straight at the enemy. As the distance closed, he struck with a powerful blow. The pressure exploded through the space like a storm. Explosions roared, rocks and dust flying everywhere. The Dark Monarch was crushed, shocked to be overwhelmed by a human. Lin Tian smirked, teasing if he now knew fear. The demon erupted in fury, lunging in a screaming counterattack. He launched a flurry of dark energy assaults. Lin Tian moved like the wind, easily evading. He calmly blocked the heavy strike with one hand. The Dark Monarch sweated in horror as his foe stood unharmed. Lin Tian coldly asked if that terrified face was his pride. He sighed, bored that the enemy was too weak to push him. The demon fell silent, realizing he faced something beyond imagination. In panic, he fled, vowing to absorb more spirit energy and return for revenge. Lin Tian growled, asking who allowed him to leave. The demon screamed, crushed under immense pressure. His body twisted and contorted violently. He finally dissolved into black smoke and vanished. Lin Tian was surprised he'd self-destructed to survive. Lang Yex worriedly asked if he was hurt. He said he was fine, telling her to report to Bureau Chief Liu as the demon's soul escaped. Outside the city, black clouds gathered and sirens wailed. People panicked over storm warnings, joking they might get struck by lightning if they went out. In another place, a girl frowned angrily, blaming everything on him. She muttered that their happy date was ruined by sudden rain. Suddenly, she heard a strange sound. She turned in shock, trembling as she asked who was there. Looking around the empty street, fear rose within her. From afar, a huge red-eyed bat flew toward her. It swooped to attack, making her scream in terror. A sudden burst of power knocked the monster off course. A deep voice said that no trouble was allowed tonight. Lin Tian appeared atop the car, sternly telling her to go home as it was extremely dangerous outside. She looked at him in a daze, murmuring non-stop praise for his handsome looks. Lin Tian took out his phone. He called Leng Yue to ask about the current situation. Leng Yue replied that the dark being had escaped and things were worse than expected. She urgently reported the dark creature had split into many bats attacking across the city. They absorbed human spiritual energy to evolve. Some had reached the second spirit spring stage and kept advancing. Lin Tian's face darkened, suspecting the bats were turning civilians into energy sources. He resolved to destroy them before they reached the third stage and merged into a dangerous dark entity. The bats rampaged everywhere, spreading chaos. The entire city sank into gloomy darkness. The demon planned that destroying one city would restore its peak power. Once achieved, it would turn humanity into endless suffering. The next morning, dozens of armored vehicles thundered down the highway. The army was deployed densely across main routes. The scene shifted to the Spiritual Energy Association headquarters, screens flashing with data and frantic hands typing. On social media, news of the bats spread fast, the public panicked, and comments about the disaster flooded in. Shen Feifei scrolled through comments, annoyed by posts stirring chaos and blaming the authorities. She fumed, wanting to shut down the internet, but the flood of information was uncontrollable. Lena frowned, advising the young lady not to overreact or shed worsen public panic. Feifei impatiently asked if the army had entered yet. Lena explained that Tian Hai entrances were blocked by third-stage bats, and the army couldn't break through. Feifei worried about Lin Tian's safety amid the chaos. The scene returned to the Spiritual Energy Association headquarters in urgent meeting. Lin Tian and Leng Yue had just returned. Everyone greeted and congratulated Lin Tian for returning safely. Lin Tian asked if anyone had been in danger. A teammate said they'd been training at the villa and only found out when Chief Liu called. Tian Fang excitedly told how he punched a bat to death while grilling meat and roasted it, making Lin Tian laugh and warn him not to upset his stomach. Liu Ying suggested holding an online meeting with the army, including Lin Tian. He started the meeting to coordinate Tian Hai's rescue. Commander Shen agreed seriously, summoning the entire Spiritual Energy Association to discuss the rescue plan. He reported that both east-west highways to Tian Hai were blocked, and the southeast central plaza showed strong energy fluctuations, possibly as the control hub. Lin Tian pondered the possibility that the source lay in the central plaza. Teacher Li Qi stood up trembling with worry, drawing everyone's attention. The commander reported plans to break the eastern highway defense, open an escape route, and evacuate civilians before launching a fire strike. But they requested the Spiritual Energy Association assist in clearing other areas to evacuate people first. He checked his watch. The plan had to finish in 50 minutes or the creature there would mutate beyond control. Li Qi anxiously asked if the explosion timing could be delayed if the troops couldn't arrive in time. The commander affirmed the attack would launch as scheduled to stop the creature's evolution. Li Qi angrily opposed, unable to accept sacrificing lives. He replied that if the black entity mutated, not only that area but nearby regions would be erased. Li Qi was speechless, yet. The commander spoke heavily, saying someone important to her was in that zone, right? Li Qi shuddered, revealing her family lived nearby. Everyone fell silent in shock. Yu Ting comforted her, promising to help rescue her family since the team was specially trained and his power stronger than before. Tian Fang also vowed to call teammates to drive and support immediately. The commander advised Li Qi to withdraw. He warned that soldiers ruled by emotion ruin missions she couldn't act on site while thinking of relatives. Li Qi agitatedly demanded why. The commander turned to Liu Ying to check forces, asking for confirmation. Liu Ying hesitated. Lin Tian objected to the plan, saying it had a fatal flaw. He was stunned and asked what was wrong. Lin Tian analyzed that their explosives couldn't harm the creature. Everyone was shocked. The commander questioned how he knew. Lin Tian reminded them he had wounded the beast not long ago. He proposed an alternative since the current plan was useless. The commander asked for details. Lin Tian requested they bring the item he mentioned days earlier. He said he would create a lightning sphere and was confident he could destroy the black entity. At the tunnel entrance, Fei Fei was already blocking the way. "You are frozen!" the command echoed to halt. They led troops ready to deliver Lin Tian's equipment for Tian Hai's civilian safety. The commander radioed the army to begin an emergency operation in the zone. The route linking the eastern highway to the residential area was recorded. He wore a stern look, assigning the weapon escort mission divided into 5 small squads to ensure its safety, no matter the sacrifice or cost. Shen Fei Fei led the squad into the tunnel, shouting for civilian safety. In the dark tunnel, bat creatures flew wildly. The soldiers opened fire. The creatures retaliated fiercely in a frenzy. Fei Fei yelled for everyone to advance. Her eyes burned with the will to survive. On the city outskirts, creatures ravaged everything in sight. A powerful consciousness burst forth. Lin Tian approached, coldly saying he shouldn't have shown mercy in the forest. Yu Ting and Leng Yue hurriedly followed. The creatures swarmed together, blanketing the sky. Yu Ting unleashed a water dragon spell, combining with Leng Yue's technique. They fought back fiercely, suppressing the wave of attacking beasts. Tian Hai was overrun by bats, terrifying everyone. Yu Ting trembled, saying they were multiplying by absorbing spiritual energy. Leng Yu observed that Black Mass was an endless bat swarm. Yu Ting feared what would happen if they merged. Lin Tian reassured them, saying he'd beaten it once in the forest and would again. He stressed their goal was to reach the People's Plaza and join Shen Fei Fei. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Fei Fei and her team escaped the tunnel, exhausted and wounded. As the bat swarm closed in, a male voice declared she belonged to him. Jiang Yu, eyes blood red, stared at her with mad joy at their reunion. Fei Fei angrily recognized the old foe. She accused him of causing Tian Hai's chaos and countless deaths. He sneered, treating human lives as sacrifices to increase his power. Fei Fei furiously kicked at him. He tilted his head, dodging easily. He mocked that spiritual cultivators were no better than addicts craving power. He suppressed his energy, threatening that devouring them would restore his peak strength. A chilling voice mocked that he himself was just another sacrifice. A column of ice shot out, forcing Jiang Yu to dodge. Lei Na stood before her, declaring he'd send him to hell for the lady. Jiang Yu was shocked to sense Lei Na had ascended to a new power level. He went mad, craving to consume his foe for further evolution. Lei Na turned to tell Fei Fei to leave while he held the rear. Fei Fei nodded, warning him to be careful before retreating. Seeing that, Jiang Yu roared and charged in fury. Lei Na raised thick ice walls to block his path. Behind, Fei Fei and the soldiers fired cover shots and released smoke to retreat, but were surrounded by the bat swarm like a flood. The bats surged in massive waves, their numbers skyrocketing. Fei Fei kept pulling the trigger, bitterly feeling helpless. Bullets were useless as the bats had mutated and hardened. In despair, she gritted her teeth and charged forward, wondering if she could still deliver the weapon. She forced herself to stay strong, refusing to let despair in. A bat spotted her and lunged immediately. She sprinted, but another one chased close behind, eyes full of bloodlust. At that instant, lightning tore the sky and struck the pursuing bat. Lin Tian appeared amid the lightning, aura blazing, declaring he had found her. Shanbei ran to him in shock. He smiled gently, resting his hand on her head, assuring her he was there and asking for the item. Fei Fei removed the box from her back, saying her grandfather told her to bring it, though she didn't know its contents. Lin Tian asked if her grandfather had said anything. She replied only that it was a powerful weapon. He opened the box, drawing a cold, gleaming sword. Fei Fei curiously asked about its power. He said she would soon see its true might. He shouted for the team to scatter and prepare for support. Zheng Yi immediately ordered the army to move back, reporting that foster father was about to act. Lin Tian rose into the sky full of bats. The combat system activated. A side notification appeared, short broadcast clip. He channeled thunder flame, spiritual energy swirling like a storm around the blade. Then he unleashed the cross slash. In an instant, the entire bat swarm turned to ash. Zheng Yi cheered excitedly, praising him as invincible. Fei Fei stared in awe, admiring him and asking if she could learn that move. He replied yes, but only after reaching the fourth spirit spring realm. Lin Tian asked where the others were. Fei Fei sadly said all had fallen. Only Lei Na was still fighting Jiang Yu, begging for help. He was stunned, thinking Jiang Yu had died when devoured by the dark monster. The scene shifted to Lei Na, who launched consecutive freezing strikes. The bats turned to ice mid-air. Jiang Yu sneered that such power wouldn't last long. More bats swarmed in, draining spiritual energy from their frozen kin. Lei Na was horrified seeing them cannibalized to grow stronger. Some had already broken through to the third spirit spring stage. The swarm surged violently. Lei Na instantly raised an ice barrier. But within minutes, the ice walls shattered and they attacked wildly. Lei Na was struck. He staggered back. Holding his bleeding arm, he realized the situation had become dire. Zhang Yu smirked arrogantly, mocking that he was afraid. Lei Na gathered all strength and fired ice arrows in counterattack. The icy bolts sliced the air, aimed straight at him. He sneered, eyes full of disdain. The arrows were instantly absorbed by his black aura. Lei Na shouted in disbelief. Zhang Yu laughed madly, saying he had expected that and would absorb all that energy. Lei Na was stunned to realize Zhang Yu was absorbing his own spiritual energy to empower himself. He gathers energy in his hand, eyes cold, saying he will grant his opponent a gentle death as a courtesy. He fires a sharp spiritual arrow straight at Lei Na. The boy closes his eyes in despair, only managing to think an apology to the young lady. Unexpectedly, Lin Tian appears and steps directly in front of him to take the blow. Lei Na panics, shouting that this is a full power strike from a higher realm and cannot be blocked. Lin Tian coldly flicks his hand and deflects the spirit arrow's path. It flies away and then explodes violently. Lei Na stands stunned, unable to believe what he has just seen. Lin Tian turns and asks the boy what he just said. Lei Na urgently asks if Fei Fei is safe. Lin Tian answers she is resisting with teammates in another area. He tells him to hurry to regroup, that he'll handle things and arrive later. Lei Na nods and leaves. Lin Tian coldly glares at Kwang Wu and asks who or what he really is. He laughs, claims to be Kwang Wu, and pretends not to understand the question. Lin Tian frowns, unwilling to say more, and declares it's over here. He draws his sword, voice icy, saying hell let him rest soon. Kwang Wu laughs loudly and asks if Lin Tian still thinks he's the man met in the forest. He raises a hand to gather black ki and shouts, showing his ultimate strength. A black sphere shoots toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian calmly draws his sword to meet it. A brilliant slash cleaves straight through the sphere. Kwang Wu is shocked and exclaims he can't believe it. The sword strike shatters the Kui, scattering the hidden swarm within. Nevertheless, they quickly regroup in the sky. Lin Tian frowns, sensing something amiss. In the distance, Fei Fei with Wu Qing and Leng Yue also notice the abnormality in the air. Leng Yue asks Wu Qing whether she can sense the strange energy emanating from that black cloud. Wu Bin replies slowly that they seem to obey something and are flying toward it. Fei Fei anxiously exclaims that this cannot be happening. Wu Qing, puzzled, asks why. Fei Fei solemnly says that per the data, that object might be a super-anomalous entity from legend. She goes on to explain anomaly tiers, starting with low levels that cause only minor disturbances and are less dangerous. The next tier causes local panic and is suppressed by junior practitioners. A higher tier is truly dangerous, able to destroy a settlement and requiring mid-level practitioners to cooperate to eliminate it. High anomalies can wipe out a small town and need many strong cultivators. The catastrophe tier can devastate a metropolis and requires top experts to intervene. The apocalyptic level is a national-scale disaster that breaks normal defenses, only stoppable by the very strongest and demanding full mobilization. The extinction level is an apocalyptic threat capable of erasing civilization, requiring all masters and defense systems to unite. She silently prays for Lin Tian to survive. Fei Fei orders Leng Ye to contact local leaders while she calls her grandfather to ensure Lin Tian doesn't fight alone. At the command center, everyone struggles to re-establish contact as Captain Fan turns on the radio to report. The signal is jammed. A staff member shouts that Team 2 is completely lost due to bats blocking transmission. Commander Shen stays silent, worried if Fei Fei and her group have escaped. On the camera feed, someone shouts that the bat swarm is gathering in one direction. The entire room panics, confused about what is happening. An external connection is restored. The operator quickly answers, asking Captain Fan if he's alive. Fan reports Team 2's signal has returned after the bats retreated, and Captain Lee's line works fine. The reporter states their team was attacked by many High Realm bats before they suddenly flew up and dispersed. Staff report the same for Teams 2 and 3, prompting Commander Shen to urgently order casualty counts. He demands immediate tallying of casualties. Someone announces a signal has been established with the eldest lady. Commander Shen picks up to call Fei Fei and her teammates. Fei Fei grimly reports that a super-anomalous creature may soon appear in Tian Hai. The whole room falls into tension and shock. Commander Shen looks doubtful and asks Fei Fei to explain clearly. Fei Fei struggles to say the bats left Tian Hai to feed energy to a giant entity inside the black cloud. Someone screams disaster, saying Tian Hai and everyone there are doomed. Chaos breaks out, many claiming only those of the Yongshuan Fifth Realm could hope to resist a super anomaly. Commander Shen falls silent for a moment, heavy with burden. He speaks gravely, apologizing to Fei Fei, saying he can't risk the nation and hopes she understands. Fei Fei sadly accepts and says she holds no resentment. The commander stands and orders a full-scale destructive strike to stop the super anomaly in Tian Hai. He stresses they must prevent the disaster from spreading at all costs. Chu Mu pleads for calm and suggests rescuing the eldest lady first. Commander Shen sternly replies, this is a military mission with no room for sentiment. Sacrifice protects the people. He shouts for the army to prepare, but the transmission suddenly cuts with a strange voice testing the signal. A confused person asks how to turn the connection back on. Commander Shen freezes, recognizes Lin Tian's voice, and asks in shock if he's alive. Lin Tian jokes that Shen nearly killed him too soon, hadn't had time to flatter his granddaughter. He shifts tone, orders the bombing stopped, and insists he will handle the super-anomalous creature himself. The command center goes silent, stunned by that declaration. Someone trembles, asking if he's sure. Lin Tian replies boldly that if he's not, there's no point arguing. He demands full support from them if they want to save Tian Hai and Fei Fei. Chu Mu remains doubtful, looking to Commander Shen for orders. Shen considers briefly and then asks how they should assist. Lin Tian calmly says it's only a small favor. He asks them to accept all material losses incurred in the battle. At that moment, the monster gradually reveals its giant form and roars in pleasure at being revived. It looks at Lin Tian and arrogantly claims it has surpassed the Five Realm and achieved ultimate power. It laughs madly, declaring itself invincible. It reminds Lin Tian of his regret at not killing it in the forest. Then it lunges with bloodied vines, attacking like a beast. It laughs wildly, but before it can finish, the laughter dies, the air stiffens. In the command center, everyone watches the screens in stunned silence. As the monster charges, Lin Tian erupts with thunder chi and slashes a blinding strike, cutting its body in two. He stares at the creature, his gaze cold as a blade. Everyone horrified realizes it's the legendary thunder element power, terrifyingly strong. Commander Shen exhales and smiles in relief that the boy lived up to expectations. Outside, the army reassures civilians and directs an orderly evacuation. A gigantic lightning bolt tears across the sky, alarming the crowd. Someone shouts that someone is undergoing a heavenly tribulation. Others, amazed by the thunder, guess a high master is enduring a thunder ascension. Wu King recognizes the power and says it's Captain Lin's force. Leng Yu is stunned, feeling the huge gap and her own smallness. Fei Fei privately feels proud, convinced she chose the right person. Lin Tian stands midair, winds and thunder swirling, radiating godlike aura. He raises his sword and coldly proclaims it's time to counterattack. The monster roars and launches a retaliatory strike. Lin Tian lifts his sword to block. He uses the technique Thunderflame Sword, Ice Mountain Sever. A torrent of lightning pounds the creature. It erects a barrier of black ki to defend. But the shield is quickly torn apart by the terrifying slash. The monster screams as its body is lacerated and in pain. It grits its teeth and endures, eyes blazing. It screams in fury and hurls black vines at its opponent. Lin Tian dodges deftly, his figure flickering like a lightning flash. The creature, berserk with rage and red-eyed, snarls that without that sword he would have killed him. Seeing Lin Tian calm, it points to its forehead, laughing arrogantly and provoking a blood challenge. Enraged, it roars, gathering all energy into a massive sphere of black ki, vowing to kill him. It hurls the dark energy mass straight at Lin Tian. Yet as the terrifying attack nears him, it instantly evaporates without a trace. The monster trembles in fear, sweating profusely, unable to believe its full power. 5-realm strike failed, guessing he's at a higher tier. Lin Tian shakes his head with a cold, disdainful smile, saying that wasn't its full strength. His body flares with thunder force as his icy voice declares the creature must die here. Panicking, the monster thinks it can't lose now and must absorb more energy to evolve further. It retreats hurriedly, swearing to return stronger and take revenge on the boy. Lin Tian's voice hardens, his eyes firm as he vows not to let it escape this time. He channels energy into his sword, unleashing a cataclysmic thunder flame strike that shakes heaven and earth. The monster turns and, seeing the overwhelming force rushing toward it, trembles in terror before death. Before it can react, the blade pierces through its body, carrying immense destructive power. The creature suffers unbearable agony. It screams in despair before dissolving into smoke and ash. In the command room, everyone erupts in joy, cheering that the super anomalous beast is slain and Tian Hai saved. The whole team shouts that the lightning display is a ray of hope for Tian Hai and humankind. Commander Shen, moved, urgently orders rescue operations to treat victims promptly. Several days pass. Liu Ying visits to congratulate Lin Tian and announces rewards from the military department and the Spirit Association, asking what he desires. Lin Tian seriously makes an important request and asks Liu Ying for help. She agrees and tells him to specify. He points to 3 girls, annoyed that they keep coming to his house and disturbing his peace. He complains their constant visits are making Tu Wu Qing spoiled. Liu Ying awkwardly says she can't make Leng Yue and Fei Fei leave, and Tu Wu Qing's matters are her own choice. Suddenly, she thinks of buying Lin Tian a bigger villa. She gives a thumbs up, promising to handle it and assuring hell be satisfied. The next morning, at a strategic planning meeting, the presiding official stands and announces that the main agenda will now be presented. He points to the screen showing Lin Tian's image, stating that his great service merits deciding what reward to grant. Some commanders propose granting him resources to become a national super cultivator like Western heroes. Others suggest promoting his image as a public symbol to inspire youth toward cultivation. Another commander angrily objects, declaring Lin Tian both a hero and a genius of the lower nation. He seriously proposes elevating Lin Tian to high command in charge of training and major missions. Commander Shen listens in surprise, wondering if there's more. A firm voice from outside declares objection. Everyone is shocked to see Han Tongling step in. Commander Shen frowns, guessing why Han Xiaofeng has returned. Xiaofeng coldly asks if the general is rewarding some young people. Commander Shen asks what he means. Xiaofeng bluntly says victory by luck doesn't deserve a medal. Someone angrily refutes that Lin Tian won by strength with clear evidence. Xiaofeng glares and orders the two to shut up. Commander Shen taps the table lightly to signal silence. He slowly says defeating a 5-realm monster cannot be luck. He asserts that awarding Lin Tian a medal isn't Xiaofeng's decision. Xiaofeng sits down angrily, declaring he won't acknowledge it anyway. Commander Shen ignores him and continues. Someone emphasizes Lin Tian's indifference to fame. He asks Elder Leah's opinion on the matter. Liu Ying smiles, saying she knows what Lin Tian truly wants. She says she asked directly and got a clear answer. Everyone grows curious and urges her to tell. Liu Ying recounts that Leng Yue and Fei Fei often visit Lin Tian's home. They invade his privacy and disturb his life and Wu Tin's education. Therefore, Lin Tian wishes for a larger house to live more comfortably with them. Everyone is surprised that such a simple wish was overlooked. Commander Shen realizes Lin Tian actually wants them to move out, but since Fei Fei has feelings, he lets it be. Finally, he proposes finding a large, suitable house for Lin Tian in Tian Hai. Han Xiaofeng sneers, saying he knows a fitting villa, making others suspicious since he had opposed Lin Tian. Commander Shen curiously asks the villa's location. Xiaofeng coldly replies it's at the Luhu Manor on Qiyang Road, the seaside city. The room stirs, noting the area is sealed off due to a 6-realm anomaly. Liu Ying protests, asking why Commander Han is making things hard for Lin Tian when the meeting is for reward. Xiaofeng calmly says if Lin Tian can't clear the manor, he doesn't deserve the award. Commander Shen irritably asks if he's questioning his authority. Han Xiaofeng calmly replied, wanting to see the true strength of the praised hero. The meeting ended. Liu Ying met Lin Tian, handed him the contract, and apologized for the incident. He explained the army intended a generous reward, but someone interrupted. Lin Tian opened it and found it was a villa transfer paper in his name. He was shocked that the house was worth millions and couldn't believe it. Seeing his change of face, Liu Ying panicked and offered to replace it if he disliked it. Lin Tian gripped the paper angrily, shouting it was about worthiness, not preference. Then he agreed to accept the villa. Liu Ying cautiously warned that mutated 6th-realm creatures existed there and support teams were sent. Lin Tian refused, saying he would handle it himself. Liu Ying worriedly advised that the gap between 5th and 6th realm was enormous and not to be underestimated. He kept urging more cultivation, but Lin Tian cut him off, saying he knew well. Lin Tian revealed he had reached the 7th realm, shocking Liu Ying. After the meeting, Han Xiaofeng got in the car, and Li Shaoyi asked about Lin Tian's true identity. They doubted he could do what the army failed to in half a month. Han Xiaofeng sneered, saying if he was just lucky, he'd die in the manor. Li Shaoyi laughed in agreement, saying Lin Tian's earlier win was luck, and he hid to avoid exposure. Han Xiaofeng laughed loudly, saying hot-blooded youths needed elders' provocation. The female secretary reminded him not to let emotions affect duty, making Han Xiaofeng irritated. Soon the car stopped before the villa where Lin Tian waited. Secretary Chen approached to shake hands and introduced herself. Lin Tian responded kindly. She pointed behind, introducing Commander Han and Li Shaoyi as those handling the beast suppression. Han Xiaofeng looked at him, confirming he killed a 5th-realm beast. Lin Tian nodded calmly. He sneered, mocking that Lin Tian looked too frail to be a warrior. Lin Tian replied wittily, asking if muscles made monsters less savage. The two grew angry. Han Xiaofeng coldly warned he wouldn't survive by words alone. Lin Tian retorted that he was practical, speaking little when acting, and the fearful should stay outside. Secretary Chen intervened, urging everyone to drop grudges and cooperate for the mission. She sternly said that silence meant consent, then began the mission briefing. She explained the dark spiritual energy source in the manor, occupied by a 5th-realm creature causing casualties. Secretary Chen ended the instructions, warning everyone to be extremely cautious. Lin Tian turned calmly and said, since they finished listening, it was time to move out. Li Shaoyi was surprised he had no plan, and Han Xiaofeng ordered to follow. The three entered the villa area together. Lin Tian activated the system, realizing he faced dark monsters again. He thought about the new attribute reward, hesitating between darkness and light. Before being weak, he hadn't understood those two powers well. Thanks to saving Lang Yue, he chose light, hoping for healing ability. Seeing him stand still, Li Shaoyi shouted, asking if he had a plan. Lin Tian calmly said thinking outside was useless. They must enter to understand the situation. Li Shaoyi grew angry, and Han Xiaofeng immediately warned to stay alert. A giant beast suddenly lunged to attack. Han Xiaofeng reacted quickly, charging to engage. He punched hard, knocking the monster away. He turned to Li Shaoyi, who nodded in thanks. Li Shaoyi paled, thinking if the outer beast was this strong, the inside must be terrifying. Han Xiaofeng warned that the mutant dog had reached Fourth Realm warrior level. He rushed in, fighting fiercely with the beast. Li Shaoyi was excited, praising the boss's strength. Han Xiaofeng kicked the dog's face, sending it flying. Blood gushed from the creature's mouth. He gasped for breath, drenched in sweat from exhaustion. Lin Tian calmly asked if he was done fighting and ready to go inside. Li Shaoyi objected, stressing the opponent was a Fourth Realm creature. Lin Tian drew his sword. He swung it smoothly several times. One strike sliced the dog in half, leaving it writhing before collapsing. Han Xiaofeng was stunned and horrified by that power. Lin Tian coldly said he would go ahead, telling them to stay and play. He froze, seeing the beast cut in half in an instant. Li Shaoyi trembled, asking if they had provoked the wrong man. Han Xiaofeng panicked, urging to apologize to Lin Tian. Lin Tian entered the villa, where an eerie silence prevailed. He looked around suspiciously. 68 people had died, yet no bodies were found. When the other two entered, he asked Commander Han, had he moved the bodies already? Han Xiaofeng replied, no, they hadn't gone this deep. Lin Tian's face darkened as he said, if that's the case, the creature inside might have exceeded even the Fifth Realm. Han Xiaofeng guessed the bodies were eaten, but Lin Tian disagreed, saying monsters only absorbed spiritual energy, not flesh. He warned everyone to stay extremely alert. The three split up to search. Han Xiaofeng nodded, agreeing to follow Lin Tian's command. Lin Tian said he would check the upper floor, leaving the basement to them. He slowly ascended the stairs. Standing in the dark corridor, he gently pushed open a nearby room door, checked each room one by one. He thought that even if the monster swallowed everything, bones should remain. Activating light, his body emitted a brilliant golden glow. The light reflected the dense, dark aura around him. He smiled slightly, saying, so it's here. In the basement, Li Shaoyi tensely said something was off. Han Xiaofeng stayed alert, ready to fight. A black shadow flashed by like lightning. Both were startled and quickly retreated to defend. They set up a defensive formation. A skull-headed beast appeared before them, drooling with glowing red eyes. Han Xiaofeng shouted, Li Shaoyi, charge! The beast roared thunderously. It lunged forward in a frenzy. Han Xiaofeng counterattacked fiercely. But his strength soon ran out. Li Shaoyi unleashed the swift wind fist. The blow landed accurately. But the creature's skin was too tough, shocking him. The beast rose and targeted Li Shaoyi. Han Xiaofeng roared, don't touch my man! But the creature's violent tail strike slammed him into the crumbling wall. Han Xiaofeng groaned in pain. Li Shaoyi panicked, calling his leader. Furious, he charged recklessly to attack. Han Xiaofeng yelled for him to stop. At that moment, a terrifying energy beam struck down and killed the beast. Lin Tian stepped out coldly, mocking that they couldn't kill even a weak one. Han Xiaofeng gaped, shocked by his true power. Lin Tian calmly said that wasn't the main monster. Han Xiaofeng was confused, thinking it was the Sixth Realm creature. Lin Tian sighed, saying it was only a dark clone, and told them to prepare for the real one. He unleashed light, eyes blazing, declaring he'd show them the world's truth. The dazzling radiance made the two squint away. A horrifying scene appeared, monsters tearing apart and devouring humans alive. Han Xiaofeng stood frozen, unable to believe their numbers. Li Shaoyi trembled, asking why there were so many. Lin Tian calmly replied that Liu Hu Villa was their main nest. A few were normal. Han Xiaofeng, terrified, suggested retreating to call an airstrike, and Li Xiaoyi agreed. Lin Tian grew furious, shouting this was his reward villa if it exploded. Where would he live? He declared he'd wipe them all out himself in moments, then drew his sword. He unleashed the mighty move Thunderflame One-Blade Manifest. A raging golden force swept through, obliterating all monsters. The two stood speechless, unable to believe one strike erased everything. Han Xiaofeng stammered praise while Li Xiaoyi was grateful to survive. Lin Tian coldly said those were just minions. The true monster hadn't appeared yet. Han Xiaofeng was stunned, thinking if those were mere pawns, they were utterly worthless. He asked hoarsely if earlier signals hadn't only detected a fifth-realm monster. Lin Tian sneered, confirming it had evolved beyond its realm within a month. Li Xiaoyi worriedly asked how much chance of victory remained. Lin Tian firmly told them to stay behind and let him handle everything. They agreed instantly. He led the way forward, swung his sword lightly like the wind. Each slash felled a monster before anyone could react. The two hid behind the door, stunned by his terrifying speed, feeling like mere spectators to his training. In less than 10 minutes, the first floor was cleared. Lin Tian sensed a strange energy emanating from the courtyard. He spoke briefly, dashed out to check, and told them to be cautious. They followed immediately. The courtyard was filled with eerie crimson mist. Lin Tian's face paled, uttering in high alert. A massive cocoon before him was violently trembling. It emitted horrifying sounds like groans from hell. He channeled spiritual power, confirming it was the Liu Hu leader. Li Xiaoyi tried to speak, but Han Xiaofeng stopped him, telling him to stay silent so Lin Tian could focus. Li Xiaoyi wondered why he needed such effort and if that was the final monster. Han Xiaofeng softly said Lin Tian's aura reminded him of one man. Lin Tian turned with icy eyes. Han Xiaofeng solemnly said that man was Mr. Wang, president of the Haishang City Spiritual Association, a sixth-realm powerhouse. In that instant, he felt Lin Tian's kingly pressure like a reborn war god. Suddenly, a giant, monstrous hand stretched out from the cocoon. Seizing the moment, Lin Tian unleashed the move Thunderflame One-Blade Hazard. The swordlight split the cocoon in two. A colossal fire phoenix burst out, screeching with destructive aura. The two screamed in horror, trembling and asking how to face such a terrifying being. Lin Tian smiled in excitement, finally meeting a worthy opponent. The fire phoenix roared and charged, as if to swallow the world. Lin Tian flipped aside, his body moving like lightning. The monster opened its mouth, spewing a massive wave of spiritual energy. Lin Tian smiled faintly, saying, "It's time." He performed the move Radiant Full Gale, rushing straight at the phoenix. His aura exploded, unstoppable. The two behind shouted in excitement at the display. When the phoenix tried to flee, Lin Tian immediately chased, eyes cold, shouting it wasn't allowed to escape. He soared up, blocking the giant creature's path. Unleashed, Thunderflame Ice Mountain Manifest, his sword aura shattering like frozen peaks. The blow made the phoenix scream in agony. It lost control and crashed hard to the ground. Lin Tian didn't stop, unleashing the combo Thunderflame Crossblade Manifest, pressing his foe tightly. The phoenix writhed in despair, crying weakly in its final struggle. Li Xiaoyi was stunned while Han Xiaofeng shouted in awe at such overwhelming power. Lin Tian approached, radiant like a war god, calmly asking if the villa was his now. The phoenix still struggled weakly. Lin Tian coldly raised his sword to finish it. Suddenly, a strange force struck, blasting the monster away as it screamed miserably. Han Xiaofeng cheered, thinking it was Lin Tian's next move. He shook his head, saying it wasn't his doing and warning that someone else was here. The two were shocked. Lin Tian coldly ordered the Hidden One to appear, having sensed their spiritual energy. The sky tore open, forming a spatial rift. A man stepped out, speaking calmly that Lin Tian had already won. He asked why not spare the creature's life. Han Xiaofeng froze in disbelief, calling the man Mr. Wang and asking why he was there. Lin Tian turned, asking who that was. Han Xiaofeng introduced Mr. Wang, president of the Haishang City Cultivator Association, a sixth realm powerhouse. He continued, introducing Lin Tian as a cultivation prodigy from Tian Hai City, invited by the army to quell the Liu Hu Manor chaos. Mr. Wang sincerely requested mercy for the monster, wanting to study it to uncover spiritual mysteries. Han Xiaofeng gladly agreed, but Lin Tian coldly cut him off, declaring no one could command or interfere with his decision. Han Xiaofeng grew uneasy, while Lin Tian sternly added that though Mr. Wang had contributed greatly to reclaiming the city, that didn't grant him authority to overstep. Li Xiaoyi interjected, praising Mr. Wang's kindness for using light spiritual energy to heal many wounded soldiers. Mr. Wang calmly said life should be changed through compassion, not killing. As he spoke, he channeled healing energy into the phoenix, emphasizing that all beings had spirits deserving love. However, the phoenix looked at him with terror-filled eyes. Suddenly, lightning split the sky and struck down. The bolt flashed past, startling Mr. Wang and forcing him to withdraw. Lin Tian instantly swung his sword, his strike aimed straight at Mr. Wang. The opponent quickly raised a spiritual shield to defend. The two energies collided, causing a massive spiritual explosion. He clenched his fist, struggling to withstand the pressure. He shattered Lin Tian's attack, but only after draining vast spiritual energy. Inwardly, he marveled at the young man's power far beyond expectation. He questioned whether Lin Tian wanted to oppose him or all humanity. Lin Tian's cold gaze met him, saying he would now hear the reason. He sternly said the monster had killed countless people and must pay. He added that no one, especially someone unworthy like Wang Xiansheng, could tell him what to do. Then he lowered his voice, emphasizing a third reason. He pointed his sword at the opponent, saying the monster's aura had changed since his arrival. Ji Feng asked in confusion what the abnormal aura meant. Lin Tian replied that the monster feared Wang Xiansheng more than him, which said everything. Wang Xiansheng laughed, saying it feared him because he used a ceiling light. Lin Tian smirked and proposed using his own power to read the monster's memory for truth. Wang Xiansheng's eyes flickered, revealing unease. Li Xiaoyi asked in shock, surprised Lin Tian had that ability. He explained that after the battle at Tian Hai City, he gained the power to read monsters' memories through spiritual contact. Lin Tian moved close to Wang Xiansheng, making him tense, though he tried to stay calm. He placed his hand on the phoenix and infused spiritual energy into it. The monster screamed in agony as if its soul were being torn apart. Everyone held their breath, eyes fixed on him. In the dim light, fragments of the phoenix memory appeared clearly. All were stunned, their faces changing color. Lin Tian said gravely that he needed to look deeper and kept channeling energy. Wang Xiansheng's face darkened, his gaze turning cold. Suddenly, he burst into laughter and launched a sneak attack, spiritual energy exploding. The arrogant youth muttered that the bait had worked. Before waking fully, he counterattacked immediately. The two energy streams clashed violently. The two teammates gasped, asking what the gentleman intended. The man revealed his true face. If exposed, he must send them to death. He questioned the nobleman, asking if the giant beast was raised in his mansion. One person protested fiercely, insisting the man once led the hunt for it. The questioner sneered, asking why the beast still lived and met him. The other hesitated, saying the earlier campaign hadn't gone deep. The questioner doubted that. He accused the nobleman that the creature's change since his arrival proved he acted like a beast. The man threatened coldly, praising his wit but warning that wise men die young. The listeners were shocked, unable to believe what they heard. The nobleman admitted raising the creature with spiritual energy but claimed it was to protect humanity. One man angrily cursed him for sacrificing comrades' lives for his goal. The beastkeeper coldly said the soldiers' deaths were necessary to push the creature's evolution. The other trembled with rage, refusing to accept human lives as experiments. The man sneered, saying lower classes couldn't understand the mind of someone like him. He proudly explained his goal was not only to destroy enemies, but to study evolution to help cultivators adapt to the new aura world. He laughed loudly, declaring the creature was now completely under his control. He added that all words were said, and it was time to send them away. He instantly released a fierce burst of spiritual power. The force crashed down like a raging storm. The system reported a strong light energy source and asked if he wanted to absorb it. The questioner rejoiced as if finding treasure and decided to absorb it. The system activated, energy pouring in as his body absorbed it. His two teammates rushed in worriedly to protect him. The nobleman's face turned icy. He waved his hand, forming two binding arrays. With a sinister grin, he said he would enjoy their screams. Han Feng's sword gleamed coldly, inflicting great pain on the two. The man laughed arrogantly, saying this was the price for meddling in his affairs. The young man's aura flared with life force. The system reported his lightning and fire powers rose to level 2, and light advanced from level 1 to 2 in seconds. He smiled in satisfaction, gaining both power and wealth this time. His body glowed as three elements merged, and he dashed behind the foe. His sword flashed in a blinding arc. The slash shattered the sword aura and freed the two captives. The rescued ones collapsed, tearfully thanking their savior. He ordered firmly to stop hesitating and finish it. The opponent froze, shocked he had escaped the barrier. He sneered that such low-grade trash could never imprison him. He raised his sword, promising a painless death as repayment. The foe gathered energy, roaring and challenging the young man. Spiritual energy burst violently from him. He countered with the move Thunderflame Dragon Annihilation Slash. Thunder and fire merged, crushing the enemy's attack. The foe was terrified, unable to react. He appeared right behind him. The man trembled in fear at his incredible speed. He realized doom was upon him as the sword descended. The slash fell lightly but was fatal. He said coldly that even the peak 6th realm was meaningless. The foe clutched his bleeding arm, screaming for revenge. He roared, consumed by fury. His ultimate power erupted violently. A massive formation appeared in midair. He scoffed, seeing it as useless struggle. The foe unleashed 10,000 arrows piercing heart. Countless energy arrows shot forth like a storm. He leapt up, shouting a command of destruction. He countered with radiant sword array, summoning a blazing, murderous blade. One strike split the earth apart. He smiled, mocking the opponent's slowness. While the foe was confused, he appeared behind and struck again. The enemy was blown away like a sandbag. Blood spurted from his mouth as he roared that he would never yield. He gathered all his strength for a final attack. Bright seals surrounded his body. Light wings spread from his back. He charged upward, shouting the move Radiant Overflow. He responded eagerly, challenging him to a duel of sword and fist. He used Thunder Flame Sword Art, Extreme Ice Mountain Split Earth Slash, his aura surging everywhere. The two clashed fiercely, light and thunder intertwining evenly. Then the opponent collapsed, screaming in despair. A deafening explosion shook the sky. Seriously wounded, he stammered that the other's power surpassed the 6th realm peak. He calmly replied that the 6th peak was nothing worth mentioning. The foe trembled, realizing he might have reached the 7th realm impossible in the newly revived aura era. He coldly said, if done speaking, prepare to leave. The enemy cried in panic, begging fate for mercy. He gripped his sword tightly, declaring judgment for sins. A single decisive slash ended his life. He spoke indifferently, saying lowborns would always be trash. The girl stared in awe at the fatal strike, silently admiring her capable leader. He sheathed his weapon and ordered them to check on the giant bird. The three approached the heaving phoenix. One teammate suggested killing the evil creature and leaving. The leader stopped them, saying it meant no harm and was only a victim. He used spiritual energy to heal its wounds. The creature roared in fierce resistance. The two warned him to stay cautious. He reassured them he had no ill intent and only wished to help. The creature's panicked eyes gradually softened. It finally became docile. As its wounds closed, the phoenix shrank and transformed into an owl. The two were shocked by the sudden change. The owl flew onto his shoulder, leaving the teammates bewildered. He was surprised, explaining he only used light energy to heal and didn't expect the change. One asked him to show the creature's memory through light power. He laughed, saying that was just a trick to scare enemies. They doubted him, but he explained the light retained his own memories, luckily working well. He said after finishing things, he'd go home and calculate mansion repair costs. One awkwardly asked if he planned to keep the owl as a pet. He seriously replied he didn't intend to, but since it behaved, keeping it home was fine. He asked if the military should keep it. One objected due to low funds, saying it should stay with him. He asked if that was serious. The other shouted not to joke and forbade taking the spirit beast. He declared he'd bring it home to show everyone, and if opposed, he'd give it to the army, at an unknown place. A pile of documents accusing Wang Tankai was thrown at an official with harsh words. The commander furiously condemned cultivators raising creatures and using soldiers for experiments. The official stammered that he didn't know and feared opposing a powerful cultivator. The commander mocked that he feared the man yet dared offend the army. The accused nervously claimed it was the cultivator's duty and beyond his control. The commander scolded his evasion and threatened to use legal authority. The man cried for mercy, saying he was stuck between the association and the army. The commander coldly reminded him of soldiers' grieving families and demanded conscience. The official bowed silently in acceptance. The commander warned of a full investigation of the association and demanded cooperation or legal action. The man sweated, promising to comply and begging not to ruin the organization's reputation. The commander sternly dismissed him, ordering cultivators to act honestly. The subordinate trembled and obeyed. The scene shifted to his private home. As he arrived, he saw two girls waiting. Warm emotion rose in him, realizing the meaning of home for the first time. He scratched his head awkwardly, vowing to grow stronger to protect that peace. One girl asked why he was spacing out. He laughed, saying everything was done, and he even brought a new spirit beast. The silver-haired girl widened her eyes curiously. He smiled and whistled. The small owl landed on his head. Both girls squealed at its cuteness. They curiously asked where he got it. He replied he found it in the mutated mansion area. The silver-haired girl was amazed, admiring the creature's vitality. He drank water and admitted the beast was actually of the 6th realm peak. Both girls were stunned in shock. They exclaimed together, unable to believe it. He calmly confirmed it was indeed a high-level spirit beast. The owl tilted its head playfully, making the girls panic. One trembled, while the other hid afar. He sighed, saying not to worry. If it meant harm, it would have attacked already. Setting down his drink, he grew serious and urged them to focus on cultivation. The two pouted, saying it was hard since no one had his talent. He stretched and reminded them that if danger struck again, he might not save them in time. The scene shifted elsewhere. 3 men drank and chatted about the strongest cultivator in the region who had died. The purple-haired man said he deserved death for harming many brothers. Another asked how he died, suspecting a 7th realm beast killed him. The blond man disagreed, saying if such a beast existed, none would have survived. The purple-haired one pressed for the real reason. The blond lowered his voice mysteriously. He revealed the killer was a cultivator named Tian Hai, who once saved the entire area. The others grew excited, praising that power. At that moment, Ji Feng passed by and asked what they were discussing. The blonde replied they were just chatting during shift change. Ji Feng sternly reminded them not to reveal information about cultivator Tian Hai to avoid violation. All 3 obeyed in unison. He signaled for them to disperse. Ji Feng shivered inwardly, realizing Lin Tian's power could change the nation's fate. Fei scrolled through her phone. She saw news of him slaying the monster and helping the army reclaim Tian Hai, trending, smiling proudly. Netizens argued fiercely, some hailed him as a national hero, others mocked his pride. A cultivator from Shihong claimed he'd personally challenge him at the upcoming tournament, sparking an online uproar. Fei fumed at the insolence of the Shihong cultivator. Leng Yu asked curiously, and Fei explained the man was a 7th realm cultivator challenging Lin Tian at the martial tournament. Leng Yu blinked, asking what that tournament meant. Fei explained it was a national cultivation competition organized by the army to encourage training and defense. She turned to him, fiery with determination, saying he must win to silence the braggers. He grumbled while feeding the owl, complaining about overpriced food. The owl glanced disdainfully and turned away. He snapped, calling it ungrateful and lamenting the cost of millet. Leng Yu urged him to calm down, then asked his real intent about the tournament. He shook his head, saying he wasn't interested and had more important matters. The two girls simultaneously asked what those matters were. He calmly replied that he needed to renovate the gifted villa in Haishang. He added that they had to move in before others turned it into an inn. The scene shifted to a meeting room where officials discussed his refusal to attend the tournament. Everyone was shocked by his decision. Lei Nuo sighed, saying the young lady claimed he only wanted to repair the villa and had no interest in competition. Li Yang laughed, thinking his absence would save trouble. Commander Shen frowned and asked again in a threatening tone. Li Yang scratched his head awkwardly, saying fewer contestants meant less chaos. The commander roared for silence. He firmly declared that the tournament nurtured and retained talent. Without Lin Tian, the nation would lose in the global power race. One person worried that his unambitious nature made persuasion difficult. Everyone agreed that his absence would be a major national loss. The tense atmosphere grew as someone suggested offering a rare treasure as a lure. Another objected, saying a few low-grade spiritual points couldn't tempt a seventh realm cultivator. Liu Ying stood up, eyes gleaming, claiming she had a special plan. Commander Shen impatiently urged Liu Ying to speak her mind. She proposed using the high-level anomalous zone in Haishang as the main stage for the martial tournament. Shen frowned, half-doubting the idea. She continued, suggesting they eliminate the dangerous anomaly while gathering the masters. If successful, the nation would reclaim Haishang and earn global respect. The whole hall agreed at once. But Li Yang strongly opposed it. He shouted refusal, complained of heavy responsibility, and begged to choose another site. The commander assured him the army would maintain strict control. Li Yang sighed, saying such promises were empty and he just wanted peaceful old age. The commander sternly reminded him, as head of Haishang Spiritual Qi Association, he couldn't evade duty. Li Yang gave up, saying they could proceed without his say. The commander turned to Liu Ying, finalizing Plan B. He assigned her to handle organization and logistics. Liu Ying bowed, thinking she would soon hear news of Leng Yue's parents. The scene returned to his home. His room glowed brightly, spiritual energy swirling around him as he cultivated. Lightning flashed in his eyes. He rejoiced at reaching the 9th stage, just one step from forging meridians. While reading, he heard a knock at the door. Opening it, he saw Secretary Chen smiling warmly. He asked why she came early. She said she brought rewards and needed his signature. He invited her inside. She presented a folder, explaining it contained villa transfer papers, renovation funds, and living allowances. He glanced through and praised the army's thoroughness. She hesitated, saying there was an important matter to discuss. He guessed it was about the martial tournament. She froze and confirmed. He said his friends already knew, but he didn't care much. She smiled, saying the tournament would be held at the super anomalous zone in Haishang. He frowned, shocked that another high-level anomaly appeared there. She explained the overlapping spirit veins had amplified energy, creating dangerous zones. He nodded in understanding. She added that the anomaly contained pure lightning essence. He grew silent upon hearing thunder origin. She handed over a detailed file about the spiritual properties there. He smirked, saying they planned cleverly to draw him in. She flusteredly denied any manipulative intent. He took the file, saying he'd review it before deciding. She bowed in thanks, said goodbye, and left. The clock chimed noon. He brought food home and called the two girls to eat. Fi Fi yawned, complaining of deadly sleepiness. Leng Yu rubbed her eyes and walked over. She noticed the folder on the table and asked what it was. He replied it contained the tournament papers and mission rewards delivered by the army that morning. Fi Fi curiously opened it, asking if it included any titles or ranks. He frowned, saying it was only villa transfer and renovation reimbursement. She pouted, complaining her grandfather's grand promises amounted to just a villa. She tried to call and scold him, but he stopped her, telling her to wash up and eat. Leng Yu sighed, casually flipping through the folder until suddenly freezing. Her face turned pale. Her hands trembled and her heart pounded. A thought echoed. This was the place where her parents vanished years ago. She flipped through the pages, realizing some content was missing, and grew confused. She silently reasoned the army was hiding the truth from her. He noticed her dazed look, unease rising, guessing she had discovered something. He secretly wished she wouldn't dig deeper, fearing old wounds would reopen. Night fell. He stood on the balcony holding the file she had read earlier. It detailed the fourth expedition into the Thunder Labyrinth, where Leng Yue's parents, Leng Zhou and Shui Xing, went missing, and Liu Ying later adopted her. He called Secretary Chen, declaring he would join the anomaly mission. She happily confirmed. He frowned, bluntly saying he was displeased with their conduct. She asked in surprise what he meant. He sternly pointed out the army was exploiting Leng Yue's parents' case to force his participation. She hurriedly explained it might just be coincidence, not intentional. He angrily brushed it off, not believing her excuse. She promised to report to her superior. He warned through gritted teeth to stop the tricks, or he wouldn't hold back. She quickly vowed to deliver the message word for word. He hung up, went inside, and saw the girl asleep on the chair. He walked closer. He looked at her small notebook on the table. He gently covered her with a blanket and sighed softly. He promised himself to find her parents' whereabouts. The next morning, he appeared at the conference grounds, immediately causing a stir. Someone called out to welcome him. All cultivators and soldiers stood straight and bowed. He waved his hand, embarrassed, telling them not to overdo it. One man laughed, saying he deserved it. Without him defeating Wang Xinkai, they'd still suffer. He just smiled, saying not to flatter him, he only did what was necessary. Another said emotionally that his act saved the army, so their gratitude was justified. There's a rumor he defeated Wang Xinkai with a single move, is that true? Yes, that guy wasn't hard to deal with, just a bit troublesome. Truly, Lin Tian's reputation isn't exaggerated how admirable. Come on, everyone disperse, stop gathering. You should get used to this. Such scenes will repeat, face them calmly. What can I do? Everyone just likes me. Mr. Han, do you know where Chairman Liu Ying is? I want to meet him. Soon, Lin Tian was taken to Liu Ying's residence. This anomaly zone holds many hidden dangers, so we must carefully review the participant list. Long time no see, Director Liu. Lin Tian, you're here, come in. What brings you to me? Director Liu, I heard you're in charge of organizing this anomaly site. Is that true? Yes, I know you might be displeased, but I had no other choice. Gu Yanni seems obedient and sensible, but she often cries alone at night. Before meeting you, I led troops to find her parents many times, but failed and suffered heavy losses. I want you to attend the conference to inspire cultivators and help Lange Nuyet find her parents. If this troubles you, I'll take responsibility, just don't blame the girl. She knows nothing. Uncle Liu, next time, just be direct, no need to hide things. You mean you want me to tell you everything straight? I see Lan Nuyet as a friend helping friends needs no reason. Thank you, Lin Tian. Welcome, everyone, to the first Martial Cultivation Conference where challenge meets glory. Now, I'll explain in detail the anomaly point you're about to enter. The battle takes place at the super anomaly point in Hai Tian, where spiritual veins intersect, filled with aura and deadly danger. You're Lin Tian, right? Imoshu from Xin City. Nice to meet you. Didn't expect the Sword Saint Lin Tian to be so friendly. Sword Saint? That nickname came from you defeating Wang Xinkai with one sword. It's now famous across Xin City's cultivation world. Did you need to see me for something? Almost forgot. Can I join your group when we enter the anomaly point? You want to go with us? Why do you want to join us? Or is it a mission from the Xin City Aura Association? Actually, just between us, I was sent only to fill the quota. I have no real power. A cultivator that weak? Isn't the Xin City Aura Association afraid of being mocked? They don't care. They just need enough people. I was chosen simply because I look decent. Chosen for looks? Ridiculous. You're too weak. Entering the anomaly point is suicide. That's why I want to follow you. Your strength is my only hope to survive. What a coward. People like you disgrace us. Fei, don't be so harsh. Talking behind someone's back is even more shameful, isn't it? If you promise not to cause trouble or drag us down, I swear I'll obey completely and never be a burden. Captain Lin, let him join. He probably won't be any trouble. He looks gentle, not like someone who'd stir chaos. Fine. Since you're sincere, you can come, but don't act on your own. Thanks, Lin. Thank you all. Ill behave. Suddenly, a thunderous noise made the whole group jump. The gate to the anomaly point had opened. The National Martial Cultivation Tournament officially began. The scene shifted to a desolate, chaotic land where peace was only a distant dream. Lin Tian's team rushed through the spatial rift. They landed on the ground in an instant. As soon as they touched down, the team became alert, scanning the ruined wasteland. Fei Fei asked why Hai Shang became like this. Lan Yue calmly said mutated beasts reshaped the terrain. Tu Yuking asked, Captain Lin, what's our next move? The ground suddenly quaked violently, startling everyone into shouting. Mo Shu collapsed in fear, clutching his head and screaming for help. Lin Tian shouted a warning for everyone to stay alert. Anything could happen in this secret realm. Soon after, countless monsters burst from the ground, roaring fiercely and attacking the group. Lin Tian didn't hesitate and ordered the whole team to prepare for battle. A blazing flame sword struck down from the void, slaying the leading monster. The group instantly turned toward the source of the firelight. A red-haired man holding a great sword hovered in the air, asking if he was Lin Tian. Lin Tian frowned coldly and asked who he was. The red-haired man arrogantly introduced himself as Song Jin Qiang, the strongest cultivator of Shi Hong sect, who once challenged him online. Fei Fei froze and whispered that he might be the legendary peak of Shi Hong. Song Jin Qiang pointed his sword at Lin Tian, declaring he came to challenge him. Lin Tian calmly refused, saying he had neither time nor interest for childish games, then turned away. Song Jin Qiang sneered that Lin Tian's fame was just hype, then left, promising a rematch. He turned into a red streak of light and vanished from sight. Fei Fei angrily shouted to teach him a lesson, but Lin Tian pulled her back, urging calm since their mission came first. Mo Shu laughed, patted Lin Tian's shoulder, and said he once flew with Song Jin Qiang, but was ignored, smiling outwardly, indifferent inside. Lin Tian didn't care and signaled the group to move toward the mountain ahead, reminding everyone to stay alert. His eyes dimmed with sorrow as he silently wished Lan Yue's parents were safe. The team set off again, but halfway Lin Tian suddenly stopped. Wait, something's wrong here. Beneath their feet was a temporal crack leading to a heat-filled cave, and they quickly entered. Lan Yue observed and concluded a battle with a fire-type beast once occurred here. Lin Tian decisively ordered the team to explore deeper. The further they went, the more oppressive and terrifying the air became. The scorching heat felt like it was burning their skin. At the cave's end, the scene before them left everyone stunned. A group of people were desperately fighting a giant fire-type beast. One was knocked flying, blood spraying everywhere. Another was burned by a fireball, his body severely injured. The rest screamed in despair, begging for help. One of them spotted Lin Tian's figure and shouted in joy, "Brother Lin Tian is here!" The group, seeing hope, begged him to save them. Some even cried out, calling him foster father. Lin Tian glanced at the roaring beast, estimating its strength equal to the fourth realm, perfect for Lan Yue and Yu Ting to train. He then ordered the two ice-type girls to step up and fight for experience. Both responded in unison. Understood. Without hesitation, they charged straight at the beast. The creature roared and spewed a fierce stream of fire toward them. Lan Yue raised a shimmering ice wall to block the flames. In an instant, she slipped behind the enemy. Her ice spear pierced through the monster's leg. It howled in unbearable pain. Not giving it a chance to recover, Lan Yue unleashed a flurry of ice daggers. The two blades sliced open its abdomen, and Yu Ting immediately delivered the finishing blow. Her long ice spear pierced through the creature's body. Its body exploded into hundreds of fiery ice shards. The onlookers gaped in awe, cheering and praising the two as goddesses. Lin Tian smiled, thinking they deserved to enjoy being celebrated once. Suddenly, a red light flickered inside the beast's corpse. An orange-red glowing stone fell out, catching his curious gaze. It turned out to be a fire spirit crystal, perfect timing to boost Fei Fei's power. Just as he reached for it, a familiar voice claimed ownership. It was Song Jin Qiang. Lin Tian's face darkened, calling him clingy, while the man arrogantly demanded it or head attack. The crowd cursed in anger, saying he did nothing yet wanted a share shameless. Infuriated, Song Jin-chang roared and shouted for them to shut up. He swung his sword, unleashing a fierce flame slash. Seeing the blazing strike coming, everyone yelled warnings to dodge. His sword energy tore the ground, leaving a deep, glowing trench. Witnessing that power, all shuddered, realizing his strength was far beyond expectations. He coldly threatened that anyone wanting death could step up. The group instantly fell silent, none daring to respond. He laughed maniacally, mocking them as cowards, declaring the crystal his. The crowd stayed quiet, only Lin Tian spoke out in defiance. Song Jin-chang turned back, frowning disdainfully, asking who he thought he was. Recognizing him, he sneered, mocking that last time Lin Tian bowed his head, yet now dared to stand tall. Song Jin-chang's arrogance enraged Lin Tian. His voice turned icy cold. "Since you seek death, don't blame me." With that, he dashed forward like lightning and struck with flame fist straight through his chest. Blood sprayed bright red. Song Jin-chang fell to his knees, a gaping hole in his chest, writhing in agony. Everyone froze defeated with a single punch. He roared in fury, "You really want to die?" His entire body erupted in raging flames. The scorching heat forced everyone to retreat. Lan Yue realized the cause: he had absorbed the cave's fire aura, greatly boosting his power. The group murmured in fear, understanding that here he was nearly invincible. Moshu worriedly asked Fei Fei if Lin Tian would be fine. She calmly smiled. "Don't worry, I've never seen anyone who could hurt him." Meanwhile, Song Jin-chang quickly regenerated, his wound closing as he smirked arrogantly, declaring himself a god in this place. Lin Tian snorted disdainfully. "A mere dog of the seventh realm dares bark before me?" Song Jin-chang growled furiously, shouting, "Die!" He lunged forward, slashing fiercely at Lin Tian. Lin Tian only shook his head slightly and said coldly, "Too weak." He reached back, smoothly drawing his sword like a gust of wind. His eyes sharpened as he unleashed Thunderflame Slash. The blazing sword light exploded, shattering his opponent's strike. The sword aura ripped through the air straight toward him. A single slash severed Song Jin-chang's arm, making him scream in agony. The intense pain dropped him to the rocky floor. Clutching his severed shoulder, he shouted in disbelief that he'd been crippled. Lin Tian landed, glaring down with contempt, shouting, "I spared you before because you weren't worth it. Don't think I won't kill you." He pressed his sword tip to the man's face and warned, "This wound is a lesson. Out of respect for the army, I'll let you live. But next time, no one will be able to save you." Pale-faced, Song Jin-chang trembled, begging brokenly for mercy. Yet deep inside, hatred burned. He swore to take revenge one day. The crowd stared in stunned awe, defeating a peak seventh realm with one strike. Lin Tian truly was the chosen one. Moshu excitedly ran over cheering, praising Lin Tian like an idol, while Lan Yue, Tu Yuting, and Shen Fei Fei all smiled proudly in admiration. Sheathing his sword, Lin Tian handed the firestone to Fei Fei, gently telling her to absorb its power once they returned. She asked in surprise, "But you're fire type too, don't you need it?" He smiled. "It's useless to me now." Fei Fei happily kissed his cheek, teasingly praising him, making his face flush in embarrassment. Then he turned to Lan Yue, asking, "Do you know why we're really here?" She hesitated. "Isn't it for the martial tournament?" He shook his head, explaining the true goal was to find traces of her missing parents. He smiled softly, "Don't be too shocked." He had seen records in a mission file mentioning her parents. Lan Yue asked in surprise, "So you were the one who read the missing section?" He nodded, explaining he hid that part to spare her from worry. According to the data, her parents once came to this anomaly zone searching for something, and their disappearance occurred right here. He asked if she remembered anything before they left. She lowered her head sadly, saying she was too young then to remember, and only Leah's photos helped her recall their faces. He placed his hand on her shoulder, gently promising to find her parents. She thanked him but warned of dangers ahead. He firmly interrupted, declaring he would destroy whatever awaited inside. Then he told the others to stay while he and Leng Yue ventured deeper into the anomaly zone. Fei anxiously tried to stop him, asking if he was sure, but he smiled confidently, saying this place was like a stroll to him. He asked Mo Thu if he wanted to join. The boy quickly waved no, refusing to risk anything. Lin Tian didn't insist, only narrowed his eyes and assigned Mo Thu to protect Fei and Wu Tin, warning he'd be responsible if harm came to them. Mo Thu panicked and shouted in protest, saying he was weak, but Lin Tian turned away, calling Leng Yue to leave with him. The two moved deeper into the darkness ahead. The follower watched carefully for any movement around. He softly told her to relax and stay calm. They followed the rock wall, moving more slowly. Suddenly, a bright light appeared ahead. She glanced curiously, asking what the glowing thing was. His system chimed, detected high-grade fire spiritual energy. He secretly rejoiced at finding such a valuable treasure. Without hesitation, he jumped toward the light and asked her to stay back and watch. As he approached, he confirmed the energy source was non-toxic and moderately hot. When he began absorbing, the system reported continuous fire attribute experience gain. Suddenly, a vague black shadow appeared under the water. From the shore, she shouted to warn everyone. Two giant mutant fish suddenly leapt up to attack. One lunged straight at him while he was absorbing energy. She rushed forward, shouting for him to beware. In a flash, she leapt onto the creature's head. A single stab pierced its skull, making it thrash and roll away. She kept attacking relentlessly. A thrust through its body drained its strength, and it fell back into the water. The creature was thrown off and sank, no longer a threat. She turned back, worriedly asking if he was all right. He shouted he needed a few more minutes to finish absorbing and asked her to guard him. She nodded firmly, vowing to stop any danger from reaching him. While she stayed alert, another predator silently crawled from the shore. She reacted in time, stepping back to evade the sudden strike. The ferocious creature refused to give up and kept charging. It struck wildly, forcing her deeper into the cave. The fresh wound emitted thick white smoke. Her face changed color as she tried to repel the attack with ice power. However, her strike had no effect on the creature. The sight made her break out in cold sweat and tremble inside. The beast countered instantly, exhaling dense poisonous gas. She quickly formed an ice wall to block and shield herself. The barrier shattered on impact, throwing her far away. She spat blood, body trembling, mind falling into panic. She felt her body completely lose mobility. The beast approached slowly and menacingly. Suddenly, a pillar of fire shot in from afar to save her. The flame pierced through the creature's thick shell and body. Lin Tian finished absorbing, advanced angrily, and warned the foe for touching his companion. He shouted in disdain, mocking the opponent as a mere beast. The monster roared in defiance, refusing to submit. Scales rose along its back, releasing gloomy toxic fumes. The thick poison spread around, filling the area with deadly mist. Lin Tian dashed forward like lightning. He intended to end the battle immediately. As his sword swung, the thunder flame slash shone, but the monster's tail strike sent a shock wave. He was flung far from the battlefield. Lin Tian stood up calmly, admitting the beast's formidable high-rank power. The monster howled and charged again in crazed triumph. He ignited his sword in flame, voice cold, declaring the end. Lin Tian aimed to prove the might of the Pure Lotus Flame. He unleashed his ultimate move, world-destroying Pure Lotus Slash. The beast rushed in, unable to dodge. It was cleaved in half, blood spraying as it fell dead instantly. Lin Tian quickly helped Leng Yue up, worriedly asking. She weakly thanked him, moved by his rescue. He gently scolded her, saying it was just a small beast, and she should be more careful next time. Leng Yue wiped the blood and softly admitted her fault. A strange noise echoed from the darkness, making both alert. Lin Tian shouted, demanding the hidden presence reveal itself from the lake. The water suddenly exploded violently. A giant dragon emerged from the depths. Its massive body coiled with overwhelming aura. The dragon roared proudly, rejoicing at being freed from its seal. Leng Yue was shocked, unable to believe a talking dragon existed here. The dragon arrogantly replied, claiming to be a higher being that understood human speech. Lin Tian cautiously sensed its immense spiritual pressure and decided to probe further. He directly asked if it was the one who created this anomaly. The dragon sighed, saying this place was created for its existence. Leng Yue confusedly asked again, not understanding the meaning. The dragon recounted being betrayed by humans and sealed under the lake, and Leng Yue hurriedly asked about the appearance of those two. The dragon gritted its teeth, voice full of hatred, recalling only the two names Leng Xuan and Shui Hang. Leng Yu froze, face blanching as she realized those were her parents' names. The dragon sneered, calling fate ironic that its liberator would be the descendant of its captor. It said they should be thanked for freeing it in a twisted way. Lin Tian frowned, coldly accusing the dragon's thanks of being vengeance. The dragon looked contemptuous, eyes flashing killing intent, declaring the strong take revenge on the weak and demanding payment for her parents' actions. Lin Tian panicked and shouted for her to leave immediately. Leng Yu bit her lip, firmly refusing to flee and insisting on hearing the truth from the dragon's mouth. The dragon breathed fire and roared a threat, declaring it would turn everyone into sacrificial offerings in its rage. Lin Tian immediately raised his sword to block, focusing to counter the terrible flame. He turned to her, pleading her not to risk herself and urgently reminding her she could not fight alone. Leng Yue shook her head stubbornly, insisting she would not abandon him despite being weaker. The dragon mocked their affection and declared that today no one would leave alive. Lin Tian spoke softly, trying to reassure her that he would handle the dragon while she searched for clues about her parents. That made Leng Yue hesitate, whirl with thoughts about her parents' information. He urged decisively, ordering her to go now and let him deal with everything here. She bowed her head, tearfully thanked him, then rushed off to search for clues. She ran swiftly in another direction, hoping to find what she needed. The dragon angrily lashed its tail, trying to block her so none could escape. The strike was blocked by Lin Tian's sword, stopping its force. His whole body flared with azure flame, taunting, "Dragon, you have grown arrogant." Leng Yu continued running forward with a faint hope. Suddenly, a stone slab glowed faintly, appearing to block her path. She approached, eyes wide in astonishment at what she saw. On the stone, a familiar image made her immediately recognize her parents. She cried out that she would rescue them at once. She swung to unleash a freezing strike to break the seal. Her attack did no damage to that object. Leng Yu trembled, stunned at the hopeless result. She launched attack after attack, screaming in despair, asking why it was ineffective. Tears streamed down as each futile blow caused her unbearable pain. Exhausted, she collapsed, sobbing while the dragon shifted its target to Lin Tian and threatened to begin its revenge by killing him. Lin Tian furiously swung his sword in contempt, deeming the dragon unworthy. His slash was swept away by a vortex of wind born from the dragon's life force. The false dragon laughed arrogantly, noting that Senjami had some skill. It coldly decided to finish the one seeking death. Spiritual power burst from Lin Tian's body as he replied icily, full of disdain. He swung his sword and effortlessly dispelled the dragon's attack. Flames from his blade surged like a tide, extinguishing the storm in moments. Through the white smoke, Misao appeared calmly, revealing his full strength. He mocked that a creature of the 9th spring realm was this weak. The dragon panicked, unable to believe a human could block most of its power. Lin Tian sighed in boredom, giving it one last chance to unleash its life and death move. The dragon roared furiously, soaring high, vowing to burn him in revenge flames. Lin Tian sneered, voice dripping with scorn. He leapt forward so fast the dragon couldn't react. The creature's eyes widened in sheer terror. The thunder flame slash tore through its body, blood gushing violently. Lin Tian landed calmly, tone unchanged. The dragon gritted its teeth, claiming the sword had tipped the balance. Lin Tian's face darkened as he looked at it with faint pity. He calmly told it to try again, then tossed the sword aside. The act left the dragon stunned, unable to grasp his meaning. Lin Tian waved mockingly, voice proud, inviting it to attack. The dragon steadied itself, gathering fierce energy, roaring that he was courting death. A massive pillar of fire blasted toward where Lin Tian stood. He remained calm, smiling in approval. "Good," he said softly. With one hand, he blocked the dragon's ultimate technique. Flames whirled violently around his glowing fist. He punched back, sending the fire rebounding toward the dragon. The dragon screamed in madness, unable to believe a mortal resisted its demon dragon wave. Lin Tian gave a cold laugh, declaring his superiority and claiming himself the true master of the sky. He announced it was now his turn to strike. The dragon panicked and tried to flee, but Lin Tian pursued, unleashing the thunder flame blade that tore its back apart, making it scream and collapse miserably. He went to Leng Yue, gently comforting her and saying he would examine the crystal block. Lin Tian stepped closer, observing the glowing patterns on its surface. A sense of unease rose within him at the mysterious energy emanating from it. He ordered the system to analyze the runes carved on the crystal. The interface instantly began scanning. After the scan, the system reported it was a rune energy source that only someone at the Iron Vein level could absorb. Lin Tian understood and quietly admitted he couldn't break the object for now. He then thought of another way and decided to open it from below. Without hesitation, he drove his sword hard into the stone floor. Leng Yu asked in surprise, not understanding his intent. He smiled confidently, declaring he would dig the whole crystal out. Spiritual energy burst around him as he shouted for the object to rise. The ground nearby trembled and cracked violently. The crystal block broke free from the rock, shining brilliantly. Lin Tian gasped, wiping sweat in relief as Leng Yue worriedly asked what came next. He gestured firmly, telling everyone to retreat outside. At the cave entrance, the wounded dragon muttered curses while flying away. It angrily swore vengeance on the humans who had humiliated it. While flying, it paused, hearing sounds echoing from deep within the cave. Inside, people chatted, praising Lin Tian's sword power and comparing him to Song Jin Gang. Another scoffed, saying he was unworthy of respect for bullying the weak. Song Jin Gang grew furious, gritting his teeth in rage over being mocked for his lost arm. Suddenly, the ground shook and they all looked up. The dragon charged straight at them, roaring dragon's breath as it attacked. They couldn't react in time and were engulfed by flames. From afar, another group whispered in terror, warning each other to stay alert. All of them joined forces, launching attacks toward the roaring blue dragon. Techniques Flame Slash, Ice Slash, and Water Dragon Calamity struck at once. Facing such weakness, the dragon only laughed arrogantly, drunk on dominance. It roared in delight, tormenting them mercilessly, reveling in absolute power. Song Jin Gang, gravely injured, panicked and fled, knowing he couldn't fight the monster. The dragon spotted him, eyes narrowing dangerously, smirking coldly as it moved to block him. It swung its massive claws at lightning speed. Song Jin Gang was seized, his mind echoing with the desperate thought that he was doomed. The giant creature pinned him down, smirking as it mocked whether a mortal could escape its grasp. Song Jin Gong was cornered, begging desperately for mercy, promising anything to survive. The beast looked on with contempt, mocking his crippled state and calling him useless. Song Jin Gong quickly schemed, offering to help eliminate the cultivator group as its servants. The nearby people shouted angrily, cursing Song Jin Gang for betraying his kind to save himself. The creature remained unsatisfied, coldly saying his words weren't enough to spare his life. Song Jin Gong risked everything, promising he could lead it out of the spatial anomaly, sparking the beast's curiosity. He persuaded it that he could use the power of a legendary gate to break the spatial barrier and help it escape. Suddenly, a long-range attack struck. The creature was hit but barely flinched. A group emerged from the shadows, cursing Song Jin Gang as a traitor. Song Jin Gang coldly replied that he was pragmatic, not ungrateful. The creature laughed excitedly, praising his sense of timing. It gave Song Jin Gang a chance to prove his worth. Flames from the beast surged into him, making him scream in agony. Soon, the strange fire faded away. One of Song Jin Gang's arms turned into a sharp dragon-like claw. The witnesses shuddered in fear at the horrific change. The creature commanded him to prove his usefulness immediately. He admired his new arm, while Tu Wu-Ting readied to block him. Song Jin Gang sneered, saying the two women were too weak. He swung his sword at them, daring them to fight back. Moshu tried to mediate, but Tu Wu-ting coldly told her to move aside. She then leapt into the air, unleashing an icy kick as Wu-ting shouted the move's name. Song Jingang's eyes glowed red as he mocked her. In an instant, the ice chain shattered and Shen Feifei struck with blazing fire. But Song Jingang grabbed her ankle with terrifying force. Shen Feifei was stunned and speechless. His grip tightened sharply, causing searing pain. He slammed her hard onto the cold stone floor. He laughed cruelly and drew a massive greatsword skillfully. She froze, fear flickering in her eyes, no time to dodge. He gritted his teeth and swung viciously. Suddenly, a strange feeling stopped his motion. Tu Wu-ting threatened him to release Sister Feifei immediately. Song Jingang easily deflected the ice chains, unfazed. Tu Wu-ting helped Shen Feifei up, warning calmly but firmly of his schemes. Song Jingang's face darkened as he issued a cold threat. He hurled his sword, scattering stone shards and taunting them to resist. The attack swept them away before they could react. Tu Wu-ting and Shen Feifei crashed down, screaming in panic. They hit the ground hard, suffering immediate pain. Shen Feifei, covered in wounds, struggled to sit up weakly. She ran to the unconscious Tu Wu-ting, begging her to wake up. Shen Feifei held her friend's head, panicking over the severe injuries. Song Jingang hovered midair, surrounded by green energy, flaunting his power. Shen Feifei gritted her teeth, vowing he'd pay once Lin Tian returned. He smirked coldly, saying he'd seek Lin Tian himself if needed. Song Jingang laughed loudly, his energy surging as he boasted of new strength. He swung his sword menacingly, ordering to end it. She hugged her friend tightly, whispering an apology to Lin Tian in despair. Suddenly, a mysterious force appeared, blocking the deadly strike. The barrier lingered briefly before fading into the air. Shen Feifei gasped in shock, exclaiming, "What?" Moshu calmly stepped out of the shadows, grumbling about nearly dying and demanding to know who scared him. She froze slightly, her voice trembling at the sight of Moshu. Song Jingang stared suspiciously, puzzled that his attack failed, suspecting Moshu's secret interference. Moshu smiled awkwardly, scratching his head and admitting his trick wasn't enough to fool Big Brother. He smiled gently, implying they should stop for today. Song Jingang looked surprised, thinking coldly that he must be more cautious. Moshu stood between them, calmly suggesting they take the dragon out of the anomaly and forget this fight. Shen Feifei objected loudly, fearing the army outside wouldn't be ready if the dragon escaped. He scratched his face worriedly, saying sister-in-law and Wu-ting were badly hurt and needed saving before Lin Tian returned. Moshu shrugged, sincerely advising her to listen and assuring safety outside. Song Jingang's eyes burned red as he mocked that Moshu was merely Lin Tian's subordinate who'd be reclaimed later. He advanced, compressing his energy to suffocate his foe in threat. Moshu feigned fear, jokingly mocking Song Jingang's power. Song Jingang unleashed fierce attacks of fire and energy, but Moshu stayed calm. Calmly smiling, he declared himself a pacifist and urged peace. Song Jingang gritted his teeth, furious, challenging him to fight seriously. Facing his rage, Moshu remained serene, admitting he disliked direct combat. He added that it didn't mean he lacked skill. That remark made Song Jingang hesitate, then a storm of sword strikes rained down. Song Jingang finally collapsed helplessly to the ground. He endured heavy blows without time to resist. The violent impact tore the space apart, flinging him far away. He staggered, clenching his teeth in humiliation and silent rage. The audacious young man shocked everyone. They finally grasped the nature of his power. The youth shrugged, stepping lightly forward with a thin smile, asking who'd boast here. He calmly suggested moving the blue creature elsewhere since the fight was meaningless now. The enemy screamed and charged in hatred, but the youth deftly redirected the attack. As expected, the opponent's power rebounded, shaking his body violently. The foe refused to stop, rushing in fury and disbelief. The young man stood firm, conjuring radiant shields to block all attacks. In an instant, every strike bounced back toward its source. He clenched his jaw until it bled, mind reeling if he could still fight. The spectators gaped, wondering what kind of power was so overwhelming. The enemy roared, refusing to believe the youth could absorb his flames. He stabbed his sword into the ground, unleashing fiery shockwaves in defiance. The young man calmly raised his hand to defend. As usual, the energy reversed instantly, shooting back at the attacker. He screamed in pain, tormented by his own failure. The other man stepped forward evenly, declaring the chaos should end. Suddenly, laughter erupted from behind, like someone enjoying the show. He hadn't yet turned around. Then a sudden fierce assault struck him. His companion shouted his name in panic. The opponent also froze in shock. At that moment, the blue creature pierced his body with sharp claws, lifting him up and claiming human energy would heal and evolve it. After speaking, it threw him down and announced it would leave the anomaly to seek revenge on those who sealed it. It laughed loudly, threatening dire consequences for humankind. The defeated foe crawled over, begging desperately to follow. The creature glanced at him disdainfully, saying his promises were worthless. Then it grabbed him tightly, making him scream in agony. The man pleaded that he had given everything and begged not to be abandoned. Before he could finish speaking, his head was crushed, blood splattering everywhere. The creature raised the twisted head and a gleaming weapon, glaring fiercely at Shen Feifei. It declared it was now their turn to face judgment. Shen Feifei turned pale with horror. Mo Shu struggled to speak, calling them closer to share his message. Shen Feifei trembled as she anxiously asked what he meant. Mo Shu firmly revealed his plan. When the blue dragon attacked, she would open an escape through a space rift. She quickly carried Wu Ting closer, fearfully asking if he'd die staying behind. Mo Shu smiled resolutely, saying it was his duty to protect them as the blue dragon charged fiercely. He shouted, signaling it was time to act. The space rift opened, and he urged them to leave. He yelled again, telling them to escape fast. With no choice, Shen Feifei carried Tu Wu Ting away, telling Mo Shu to stay alive. Both jumped into the rift and vanished. The blue dragon's strike hit Mo Shu directly as it roared, vowing to kill the would-be hero. Mo Shu lay sprawled, forcing a weak smile to defy his killer. Elsewhere, Lin Tian gasped under heavy burden, utterly exhausted. He gripped Fei Fei's hand, worriedly asking about Mo Shu and their wounds. She calmed herself and said Mo Shu was badly injured shielding them. He was stunned, realizing it might be the escaped blue dragon. Lin Tian confirmed and immediately set out, ordering the team to evacuate. Leng Yu, supporting Wu Ting, insisted on following, warning the blue dragon had reached the Steel Realm. Lin Tian gently reassured them, promising to bring Mo Shu back safely. The group called out, urging him to return alive. Only darkness and suffocating air remained in the cave. Mo Shu was slammed hard to the ground, his body crashing violently. His body was torn and bleeding, pain stabbing like countless needles. He trembled, raising his hand to open another space rift. But the rift quickly vanished without a trace. He exhaled heavily, bitterly realizing his spiritual energy was depleted. The blue dragon sneered, saying it had sealed the space with its own energy, leaving him helpless. It laughed darkly, mocking him and asking how it felt to face death. Mo Shu sat down, weary but calm, admitting his dire state and that he'd faced worse before. The blue dragon lunged fiercely to teach him a lesson. The monster roared in furious rage. Mo Shu was kicked far away, grievously wounded, lying motionless on the ground. Even so, Mo Shu stayed defiant, mocking his foe with sharp words. The blue dragon screamed, ordering his execution. Its spiritual force neared Mo Shu, radiating scorching heat. Suddenly, another layer of power intercepted the attack. It hissed in surprise upon sensing the source. Lin Tian appeared, sword in hand, standing calmly between Mo Shu and the beast. He softly thanked Mo Shu and told him to hold on until safe outside. Mo Shu frowned, half pleading that Lin Tian needn't risk himself, since he wasn't ready to die yet. Lin Tian glanced at him, assuring that he would handle everything. His tone turned cold, vowing the creature wouldn't escape again. The blue dragon sneered arrogantly, full of pride and confidence. It boasted of its ascension, claiming Lin Tian's level was still one step below and easy to crush. But Lin Tian only mocked it, daring it to prove that strength. He summoned his full power, battle aura blazing. Lin Tian charged while the blue dragon countered with disdain. He leapt forward, striking boldly. He quietly realized the higher-tier defense was truly formidable. At last, he unleashed his ultimate move, Thunder Flame Explosive Slash. The blue dragon retaliated with its own immense force. The beast used its tail as a weapon, striking with devastating might. The blow sent Lin Tian crashing into a rock wall. In pain, he still mocked that such a level was unimpressive. The blue dragon snarled, baffled that he still lived. Lin Tian once again unleashed Thunderflame Explosive Slash. The creature countered with a powerful skill called Dragon Pattern Shield. Finally, the blue dragon cast its ultimate move, flooding the field with violent energy. Lin Tian was knocked down, coughing up heavy blood. The beast looked pleased, boasting about their power gap. His face darkened as he realized the foe was at the true peak of the Spring Realm, draining his energy fast from fighting at the Iron Vein level. The opponent's taunt stirred its own rage and fatigue, body trembling as it warned him not to mock its words. He gave a cold smile, mocking that he'd been restraining his true strength. That claim stunned the beast, eyes wide with confusion and doubt about a mere human's potential. He slammed his sword into the ground, explaining he'd been conserving energy for his first breakthrough, and now the threat was gone, he had no reason to hold back. Suddenly, a system alert announced his energy had reached its limit, ready to ascend to a new realm. He immediately pressed confirm without hesitation. In an instant, his body shone brightly as new life force filled him with power. The monster stared, trembling, unable to believe what it saw. He coldly challenged it, commanding it to strike if it dared. Stunned by the unleashed might, it refused to accept that a human could reach such a realm. This was the first time in its life it had witnessed such a thing. The power radiating from him made the creature tremble in fear. He provoked seriously, his sharp words stirring the opponent. Furious, the monster roared, claiming he was just a product of temporary power and would be taught a lesson. Mid-sentence, it suddenly choked, its voice cut off as if strangled. Its solid defense was torn by his sword, blood gleaming as it spilled. He smiled faintly, warning that his unstable breakthrough nearly killed it, adding a cold threat. He vowed it would not die easily after its cruelty toward Fei Fei and the group. Defiant, the monster lunged with a flurry of fierce punches, risking everything to charge him. He calmly stepped back, skillfully dodging the sudden strike. He instantly accelerated, darting toward the enemy like a passing shadow. Lanlong panicked, realizing the vast power gap and doubting if he had reached the same realm. Before he could react, Lin Tian's Thunderflame Slash struck down like lightning, crushing him. Lanlong clutched his stomach and screamed in pain, his face twisted with rage. Lin Tian sternly warned him, pointing out the next strike spot and threatening instant death if he moved. The words pierced his pride, driving the monster into fury. It roared, unleashing Dragon Claw, its talons gleaming like death itself. Lin Tian calmly countered with Thunderlight Slash, eyes full of contempt. The two forces collided violently, shaking heaven and earth. He quickly closed the distance. His figure flickered repeatedly, moving too fast to see. When the foe noticed, he smoothly dodged, gliding past like the wind. Seizing the moment, he leaped from above, then swiftly changed direction, slashing the foe's abdomen with a lethal strike. The blow horrified Lanlong, who couldn't believe his reflexes. After finishing, Lin Tian coldly declared he would avenge Mo Thu, while Lanlong groaned, humiliated and desperate to flee. With cunning eyes, he glanced toward Mo Thu nearby, plotting to use him to escape. Taking advantage of Lin Tian's distraction, he hurled a blazing blue fireball at Mo Thu, shouting viciously. Exhausted, Mo Thu could only close his eyes and accept fate. That vile act ignited Lin Tian's fury, making him roar in boundless rage. Without hesitation, he rushed forward to shield Mo Thu with his body. Taking the chance, Lanlong spread his wings and fled, laughing madly as he vanished into the wind. Lin Tian knelt down, urgently asking about his friend's condition with deep concern. Mo Thu weakly replied, telling him not to worry and to chase the dragon. Lin Tian's eyes turned cold as he declared the enemy would never escape. He stood up, aura blazing, instructing Mo Thu to keep his next move secret. Mo Thu nodded firmly, trusting him completely. Lin Tian instantly unleashed a terrifying surge of power. The energy waves rose continuously, growing ever stronger. The pressure forced Mo Thu to shield his face, shocked by the three-attribute spiritual energy within him. The energy gathered into a shining sphere at his sword tip, aimed straight at Lan Long. Lin Tian roared a death sentence upon his foe. He unleashed the ultimate move, Thunderflame Extreme Light Slash. The sphere shot forth like light, tearing through space. Lan Long panicked, unable to dodge, terrified by the dreadful aura. The strike pierced his chest, ending all resistance. In his dying breath, Lan Long muttered a few words before collapsing. Mo Thu stood stunned, silently admiring Lin Tian's overwhelming strength. He staggered and questioned if Lin Tian was truly only at the Iron Vein realm. Lin Tian smiled, praising Mo's thus remarkable talent and wondering why he hid it. Mo Thu sadly admitted he feared losing control because of his space-splitting ability. Lin Tian listened quietly, eyes filled with empathy. He placed a hand on his shoulder, gently advising him to master his power instead of fearing it. Then he helped Mo Thu back, encouraging him to use his strength for protection rather than submission. Inside the camp, an urgent report rang out. Lan Long had evolved, and Lin Tian and Mo Thu were fighting. Han Xiaofeng was shocked while Shen Fei sorrowfully reported the whole team had perished. He couldn't believe it, doubting that all the elite members had died. Leng Yue sternly explained that Lan Long's power now surpassed imagination. Han Xiaofeng choked up, questioning the true nature of the Iron Vein realm. Shen Fei firmly ordered immediate reinforcements to rescue Lin Tian, with Leng Yue agreeing. Han Xiaofeng snapped to attention, accepting the order and organizing a special ops team into the anomaly zone. Soon after, they appeared before the pitch-dark cave entrance. The fully armed force assembled as commanders issued rapid orders, squads checked weapons and tactics, morale soaring. At that moment, a figure stepped out from the cave. The team instantly aimed their guns, shouting warnings against Lan Long's intrusion into this world. Facing the gun barrels, Lin Tian paused slightly in surprise. Recognizing him, Shen Fei joyfully ran over while Leng Yue anxiously asked about his condition. Lin Tian approached, calmly assuring he was uninjured, and asked why they had gathered. Shen Fei awkwardly admitted they planned to help him eliminate Lan Long. He gently shook his head, firmly stating that Lan Long had been destroyed. Everyone was stunned, finding the feat hard to believe. Lin Tian confirmed it, saying the anomaly zone was now safe to enter and retrieve Lan Long's remains. Han Xiaofeng trusted his words and agreed to lead a team inside. He led the troops deeper in, spreading out to search for survivors. As they advanced, the group fell silent before the scene of devastation. The desolation weighed heavily on everyone's hearts. Lan Long's corpse was hacked to pieces, blood staining the rocky ground. Many soldiers stood frozen, stammering in awe at seeing a real dragon. They admired Lin Tian's destructive power, surpassing even nuclear weapons. Han Xiaofeng clenched his fists at the dragon's corpse, filled with heroic respect. He felt the event was nothing short of a living legend. After a moment of awe, he quickly ordered the search for any survivors. Meanwhile, at the military hospital, Mo Thu was receiving careful treatment from doctors. The doctor reported his condition stable, with only mild blood loss and no danger. Lin Tian looked over and softly asked how he felt. Mo Thu weakly smiled, replying he was fine and not yet defeated. He seriously asked Lin Tian for a favor, which slightly surprised him. Mo Thu forced a weary smile, pleading with Lin Tian to keep his true power secret. Lin Tian immediately agreed, promising to keep it confidential. After speaking, he said he would visit Leng Yue's parents in the next hospital room. Entering, he quickly asked about their research progress. Liu Ying and Leng Yue turned and replied that they still couldn't break the crystal block. Liu Ying added that the seal inside was extremely durable and all methods had failed. Lin Tian frowned, recalling the system's words that upon reaching the Iron Vein realm, he could absorb that rune. Now having achieved that realm, he decided to seize the chance to test it. He requested to attempt breaking the seal, telling everyone to leave except Leng Yue. Liu Ying hesitated briefly, then nodded in agreement. He and the others quickly exited the room. Leng Yu worriedly asked if he needed her assistance. Lin Tian approached the crystal block, explaining it contained extremely unstable energy, making it nearly indestructible. He planned to use his own spiritual power to absorb that energy and dissolve the seal. Leng Yu was horrified, fearing he couldn't withstand such immense power. He simply smiled, assuring her that energy was nothing to fear. Yet he honestly remarked that everyone's progress was too slow to face upcoming dangers. Leng Yue secretly fumed, thinking it was because he advanced too fast, not because she was weak. Lin Tian added that he would share some spiritual energy with her to strengthen her defense. Leng Yue was utterly shocked, asking if he meant to transfer ice-type energy to her. He softly denied it, saying he only had lightning, fire, and light attributes, leaving her confused since her body couldn't absorb other types. In truth, he did this because the system had once rewarded him with a spiritual chi pill, a relic that grants a new energy attribute. He spoke gently, eyes deep, saying he had found a treasure suitable for her within the anomaly. Leng Yu held the glowing pill, asking in a trembling voice. She was horrified to realize it was the legendary spiritual chi pill, an ancient, extremely rare elixir made only by primordial alchemists. Seeing she understood, Lin Tian urged her to swallow it immediately without question. Leng Yu firmly refused, saying such a precious item should be kept by him. Lin Tian grew slightly irritated, insisting he had plenty of elixirs and telling her to take it before her body collapsed under the coming energy. She bit her lip, thought for a moment, then reluctantly nodded. Finally, she swallowed the pill. Instantly, spiritual energy exploded outward, her body trembling under the immense pressure. Blood dripped from her lips, her face pale. The searing pain made her scream in agony. Lin Tian hurried over to calm and guide her in channeling the energy. Under his direction, the power within her gradually stabilized and synchronized. At that moment, energy began streaming out from the crystal block. Lin Tian pressed his hand against the glowing surface. Leng Yu startled, urgently asking what he was doing. He smiled brightly, declaring she had become a dual attribute cultivator. Leng Yu was stunned, unable to believe his extraordinary ability. The energy in the room surged more violently than ever. Lin Tian focused, directing all the gathered power. The spiritual force flowed straight from him into her body. He softly whispered that from now on, that power belonged to her. The next morning, as dawn broke. Upon returning to the villa, Lin Tian saw Shen Fei running toward him. She joyfully hugged him, exclaiming a warm welcome. He wearily replied that Leng Yue's parents had been rescued only in temporary coma. Fei anxiously asked about Leng Yue's condition. He reassured her that she was fine, just under observation after awakening a new power. She widened her eyes curiously about the new attribute, but he frowned and told her to ask herself. Suddenly, Fei's phone rang, startling her. Lin Tian looked over questioningly, and she said it was an unexpected call from her best friend, Su Mengjiao, who rarely contacted her first. Shen Fei quickly answered, urgently asking the reason for the call. Su Mengjiao's panicked voice said a cultivator named Mo Thu had just attended the martial arts convention in Tan City. Fei asked again, noticing her friend's trembling voice. Meng Jiao delivered terrible news. A supernatural catastrophe had struck Tan City, wiping out all soldiers and cultivators. Fei screamed in shock, asking if she was safe. Meng Jiao replied she was hiding in an underground shelter, but the situation was dire. She added that all forces in the city were annihilated and she herself was in despair. Fei tried to calm her, promising to alert her grandfather to organize a rescue. Meng Jiao choked up, saying she only wanted Fei to warn Mo Thu not to return to Tan City because it had become hell. Fei ignored the warning, shouting for Lin Tian. He immediately understood, asking the flight time to Tan City to plan their move. Fei nodded, then reassured her friend over the phone that they would come, making Meng Jiao thank her tearfully. Suddenly, the signal cut off, leaving Fei panicking and shouting into the phone. Lin Tian stood up, firmly telling her to ready a helicopter while he discussed the plan with Mo Thu. She agreed at once. A while later at the hospital, Mo Tu was leisurely sipping a glass of cold water. Lin Tian appeared, asking how much he had recovered. Mo Tu pretended to be dying, whining dramatically, making the nearby nurse recheck him. Lin Tian, impatient, bluntly stated that Tan City had suffered a supernatural catastrophe, all forces wiped out, and Su Mengjiao had just made contact. Hearing that name, Mo Tu jumped up in panic. Lin Tian was surprised and asked. Mo Tu replied she was the daughter of the Cultivators Association president of Tan City, known to everyone in the guild. He paused, suspecting a special connection between the two. Then he seriously said they needed to go rescue people and asked if Mo Tu was fit to join. Mo Tu instantly leapt from bed, declaring he could guide the way even with eyes closed. Soon after, Lin Tian arrived at the military base. He firmly demanded a laptop with satellite connection for field operations. A soldier hesitated, saying military equipment with classified data couldn't be taken out. Lin Tian spoke in a low, forceful tone, asserting it was an order, not a negotiation. The soldier angrily argued he was overstepping authority and breaking military rules. Lin Tian sneered, mocking their talk of rules while Xin Cheng was in catastrophe. The room fell silent, then erupted in panic at the bad news. He coldly stated that Xin Cheng's army had been completely annihilated. After speaking, he calmly picked up the laptop. With firm steps, he said challengingly that he only came to take something. Soon after, he was seated in the helicopter, ready to depart. Mo Tu widened his eyes, doubting they really allowed him to take that device. He added that it contained countless classified files. Lin Tian indifferently replied that since spiritual energy returned, secrets meant nothing. Mo Tu nodded, saying the era had changed and old documents were useless now. Shen Feifei suddenly ran over, anxiously shouting his name. She earnestly warned him to be extremely careful. Lin Tian smiled lightly, teasing that he'd be back soon, making Feifei scold him for joking. The helicopter slowly lifted, soaring into the sky. Feifei watched it go, silently praying for his safe return. A heavy silence filled the aircraft. Lin Tian silently prayed to arrive in time to save Xin Cheng. He turned to ask Mo Tu about the number and ranks of cultivators in the city. Mo Tu immediately replied there were about 5,000, mostly at the Courage Spring Stage 6. Around 20 were at Stage 9, with the strongest being Su Mengjiao at its peak. The army had about 1,000 heavily armed elites. As he spoke, the pilot suddenly turned back to warn them. The pilot urgently told Lin Tian to get ready. They had entered Xin Cheng's airspace. Below was a chaotic sea of fire. Mo Tu was stunned, speechless. Before them, skyscrapers had become ruins and ashes. On the ground, people crawled like corpses among the wreckage. Mo Tu stared in horror, unable to believe what he saw. The helicopter's roar made the monsters gather below. They howled fiercely, swarming toward the aircraft. Lin Tian glanced down, thinking it was dark-type spiritual energy causing the chaos. The pilot trembled, unsure where to land. Lin Tian calmly removed his headset, ordering to open the hatch without landing. The pilot panicked, shouting they were flying 6 kilometers high. But he firmly insisted, bending down to prepare for the jump. He said he'd go first to clear enemies. Mo Tu could only smile helplessly at his reckless act. With that, Lin Tian jumped straight from the helicopter into the sky. The pilot turned pale, screaming that he would be smashed to pieces. Mo Tu calmly replied not to underestimate someone at the Iron Vein realm. Lin Tian fell like a meteor streaking across the sky. The impact exploded, scattering rocks and dust violently. The shockwave blew away hordes of undead nearby. The monsters paused and looked up. Then they roared and charged to tear apart the newcomer. Lin Tian drew his sword. He slashed once, murmuring, "Disappear." The blade swept through, blowing away most enemies. A few survivors growled in defiance. He coldly ordered them to vanish from his sight. They still recklessly lunged forward. Lin Tian sighed softly, releasing spiritual energy as killing intent rose. He said coldly that if they wished to die, he would grant it. The monsters rushed all at once, but they only struck his afterimage. He flashed behind one, sliced it cleanly, and said coldly, "Too slow." Before it could react, the creature was dead. Its body split cleanly in two. The rest froze in shock. Lin Tian turned and mocked, "Afraid now?" In response, they roared in fury. On the aircraft, the pilot paled, asking Mo Chu if he was a monster and feared he'd die of exhaustion. Mo Chu calmly replied the pilot underestimated Lin Tian, leaving him even more confused. He looked down, shouting that Lin Tian was about to be surrounded. Lin Tian was indeed being encircled tightly by monsters. He leaped up, his body glowing brightly in midair. The pilot screamed in terror, asking what that was. Lin Tian unleashed the Thunder Flame sun-extinguishing spell, an all-out annihilation strike. All the undead turned to ash. The pilot was stunned, shouting in disbelief. He screamed, asking if that could still be human power. Mo Chu shook his head, telling the pilot to find a landing spot to regroup with Lin Tian. The pilot hesitated, asking if Mo Chu planned to jump. Mo Chu angrily yelled that if he jumped, he'd just become minced meat, so hurry and land. The pilot nodded quickly. The scene transitioned. A man landed safely, sitting beside the vehicle to observe. The other's destructive power terrified all and was recognized as a unique divine ability. He drove forward hastily when a loud voice asked about his brother's condition and injuries. The one addressed calmly replied the creatures hadn't pushed him to full power yet and told them to stay focused on the mission. They questioned the shelter's location. Another checked the map and said it was on the outskirts of the new city. The hideout was in an abandoned factory recently used as a temporary refuge for cultivators. Upon hearing the directions, the man quickly prepared to move and urged leaving immediately to rescue the assigned person. His companion expressed surprise that the disaster in the new city seemed unusual and asked for clarification. He explained in a deep voice that under normal circumstances, even mutant creatures wouldn't cause such devastation. The number and spread of monsters were too large, making it seem planned rather than random. The companion frowned, fearing the appearance of someone like Song Jin Gang. The man firmly confirmed that possibility was very high. The companion grew more anxious, silently praying the person they sought would survive. They arrived, got out, and the guide sensed an eerie, ominous stillness. The place was too quiet, like a trap. Both went deeper into the structure. The thick silence made the main character uneasy and frown. He scanned the surroundings, assessing the layout and trusting his instincts. Something was wrong. The shelter's defense system was gone, either never set up or already sabotaged. They kept climbing the stairs. The companion turned pale upon seeing an unconscious girl on the floor and shouted loudly. Her name was called out in panic. The man rushed over, voice trembling as he asked about her condition. He prayed for her to wake, saying he'd be terrified if she didn't respond, but there was no reaction. The companion turned quickly, reporting her inner energy was in chaos, and she needed immediate healing. The man stood silently, frowning as deep unease filled his heart at the strange situation. Suddenly he stopped and shouted a warning. At that moment, an iron cage fell from the ceiling, trapping the two and the injured girl inside. Before they could recover, a hoarse voice cut through the air. The mastermind mocked that the dog had come to save his goddess. The companion looked around nervously in confusion. The voice belonged to Gao Tian Lin, a blond man who slowly emerged. The trapped one frowned in disbelief, demanding to know why he was here. The blond man gleefully admitted he intended to use the injured girl to manipulate military power and turn the leadership into his pawns. Mo Chu angrily questioned Gao Tian Lin's hatred, reminding him he was once a criminal saved and empowered by spiritual energy. He sneered and stepped forward, mocking Mo Chu for clinging to old ideas. He ridiculed the concepts of law and order, saying they were meaningless now. To him, this era belonged to the strong and the weak deserved elimination. Mo Chu furiously argued that strength was no excuse for killing and destroying the city. Gao Tian Lin calmly admitted his actions, saying no one had the right to command him. He declared that the weak dying was natural. Mo Chu shouted in outrage, reminding him many had sacrificed to help him survive and cultivate. He accused him further, saying Meng Yao had bled for him, yet he betrayed her. Gao Tian Lin burst into mad laughter, mocking such sacrifice as foolish and proud of his might-makes-right belief. Mo Chu was speechless with rage, his face burning with fury. Lin Tian, silent until now, spoke mockingly that the situation was laughable. Chao Tianlin turned, suspiciously asking who had interrupted. Lin Tian replied he was Mocha's comrade and called his ideology childish. The man asked in surprise why he said that. Lin Tian calmly reasoned that if the strong made the rules, then they must also accept being killed by someone stronger. His words enraged the man, who shouted furiously. Lin Tian coldly replied he was merely reminding him he wasn't strong enough. Chao Tianlin roared and lunged to attack, intent on killing him. Mochu quickly warned that the enemy also possessed lightning attributes. Lin Tian calmly drew his sword. He effortlessly blocked the opponent's full-force strike. The sight made Chao Tianlin scream in horror. Lin Tian's system detected extremely strong thunder spiritual energy and suggested absorption for power upgrade, making him secretly pleased. He swung his sword to counterattack, forcing the enemy to retreat. Then he shouted to his ally, ordering Mochu to take Meng Yao and withdraw immediately. Mochu gritted his teeth in despair, realizing his power had been completely sealed. Chao Tianlin laughed arrogantly, mocking that he never intended to let them escape. He bragged the cage was made of special metal that nullified cultivators' strength. Lin Tian instantly ordered Mochu to lie down, his tone icy cold. Mochu looked confused, unsure of his intent. Lin Tian raised his sword, saying he would test how tough the prison really was. As he finished speaking, his sword aura sliced through, splitting the iron cage like paper. Mochu screamed in terror. Chao Tianlin gritted his teeth in fury, cursing madly. Taking the chance, Mochu carried Meng Yao, opened a space gate, and promised to return once safe. Lin Tian immediately stopped him, warning not to come back or he'd be dragged into danger. Mochu stayed silent and dove into the rift, vanishing from the battlefield. Seeing his prey escape, Chao Tianlin turned to Lin Tian in rage. The latter calmly said he wasn't qualified to face him. That attitude made Chao Tianlin lose control, roaring as he summoned violent thunder spears. He gripped his weapon tightly, murderous aura surging. Chao Tianlin declared he'd prove the true strength of a cultivator. He vanished into lightning, launching the killing move Destruction Spear Shadow straight ahead. Lin Tian remained calm, not dodging. He waited until the spear tip was inches away. As it neared, he slightly tilted aside and mocked, "Not bad." Chao Tianlin went berserk, chasing and shouting to see how long his foe could dodge. His wild strikes cracked the building but never touched his opponent. Driven mad, he yelled in frustration at being ignored. Lin Tian leapt high into the air. He kept his distance, observing the enraged enemy. Chao Tianlin sneered, saying Lin Tian was weak and only knew how to evade. Lin Tian replied coolly, disappointed that his power went no further. Chao Tianlin growled furiously, demanding what he meant. Lin Tian coldly pointed his sword, declaring that if that was all, he'd die here. Chao Tianlin laughed wildly, shouting he'd show the supreme might of Thunder Wrath spear art. He charged again, launching dense volleys of purple lightning spears. But Lin Tian dodged them lightly, scoffing that they were too slow. His rage grew. He roared and struck again. The more he attacked, the easier Lin Tian deflected, as if playing. Lin Tian mocked that he had strength but no mind, then declared he'd show him the abyssal gap between them. He turned into a flash of lightning, circling to the enemy's flank with a cold, darkened face, ready to strike. Lin Tian spoke icily, declaring the battle was over. A burst of immense sword light slashed forward. Chao Tianlin was horrified, unable to react in time. The sword cut diagonally from head down, leaving a blinding trail of light. He couldn't comprehend how he was so easily overpowered. Trembling, he muttered that he was at Courage Spring 9th stage. How could he lose? Lin Tian smirked and asked if that realm was really so impressive. Chao Tianlin was startled, asking if his opponent was also at the 9th stage, since he couldn't feel any pressure from him. Lin Tian calmly replied that it was once so, but now he had reached the Iron Vein First Realm. He stared in shock, unable to believe his opponent had broken through to that level. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes, mockingly asking if he was trembling in fear. He not only feared but knelt down, stammering and begging for his life. He sobbed, swearing loyalty and offering to be a servant just to be spared. Lin Tian's face darkened, repeating his own words, "The strong rule, the weak submit." He coldly asked why, now being the weak one, he wanted to reverse that rule. Gao Tianlin hurriedly bowed, claiming he was merely following orders, not the mastermind. Lin Tian pressed his sword to his neck, questioning if he hadn't called himself the strongest cultivator of New City. He trembled and denied it, saying that was someone else. He revealed that the entire New City incident was that person's conspiracy and he only followed commands. Lin Tian frowned and repeated, "Experiment? Human lives are just test subjects?" Gao Tianlin shouted in panic, revealing even the army was merely pawns of that man. Lin Tian growled, asking if he knew how powerful that person truly was. At the mention, Gao Tianlin shook violently, saying that man was an iron vein third realm cultivator. Lin Tian paused slightly and murmured, "So that's it." Seeing his calmness, Gao Tianlin pleaded for mercy, asking if he could live. But before finishing, the sword flashed with brilliant lightning. He fell back in terror, crying that he had told everything and begged to live. Lin Tian coldly retorted, when had he ever promised to spare him? He screamed in despair, begging one last time. Before the scream ended, the sword pierced his chest, his eyes wide in shock. He stammered, unable to believe he had truly been killed. Lin Tian sheathed his sword and said gravely, "Even if rules change, evil must still pay." Gao Tianlin collapsed, laughing madly and mocking that his opponent thought himself justice. He gasped and hissed that Lin Tian was a fool, unaware of what he was about to face. Gao Tianlin glared and cursed, declaring Lin Tian would soon die, for the real foe was an iron vein third realm cultivator while he had just entered the realm. Lin Tian indifferently replied for him to rest easy, as that man would soon share his fate. After speaking, Gao Tianlin's eyes gradually lost all light. His body fell, and Lin Tian's system immediately announced the absorption of thunder spiritual energy. He calmly ordered the process to begin. Streams of electric light rose brilliantly from the opponent's body. He raised his hand to collect them. The energy gathered around him and merged into his body. The system reported that the thunder spiritual energy had upgraded to level 2. After the burning pain subsided, he opened his eyes, his breath stronger than before. Clenching his fist, he clearly felt he had entered the iron vein second realm. A moment later, he calmly stepped outside and called out to his teammates. Mothu turned back upon hearing him, worriedly asking if he was hurt. Lin Tian calmly replied not to worry, as the enemy had been eliminated. His words stunned Mothu, shocked by how quickly the battle ended. He only gave a hoarse laugh, saying that once Mothu reached the same realm, it would be just as easy. He then told him to check on Meng Yao. Mothu blushed and awkwardly denied having any other intentions. Lin Tian smirked teasingly, asking why he had rushed over so fast when she fainted, though usually he was timid. Mothu softly replied that her condition had stabilized somewhat. However, her consciousness was sealed by dark spiritual energy. If not removed soon, she would become soulless. Lin Tian confidently said it was simple, gathering lightning on his fingertip, claiming thunder could suppress dark energy. With that, he released a bolt of lightning into the girl's forehead acupoint. Thunderlight coursed through her body, making Meng Yao wince and clench her teeth in pain. After a while, her finger twitched slightly. Then her eyes slowly opened, filled with confusion. Reflexively, she screamed in fright. Seeing this, Lin Tian stayed silent, thinking she was foolish and wondering how Mothu could like her. Meng Yao gradually calmed down, calling Mo thus name in surprise and confusion. She asked why he was here. Mothu scratched his head shyly, saying they saw her distress signal and rushed back from Tian Hai. Meng Yao blushed, thinking he returned to save her. But outwardly, she pretended to be angry, scolding him for recklessly coming back to such a dangerous place. Lin Tian laughed, surprised she dared to call a Peak Fountain Ninth Realm expert a weak chicken. She blinked in confusion, asking, "Fountain Ninth Realm? You mean him?" Then she grew angry again, blaming him for dragging others into danger, leaving Lin Tian speechless. Mothu explained bitterly that they only followed her distress signal, and as the one familiar with the terrain, he had to lead the way. Meng Yao still looked doubtful, but Mothu blushed and affirmed it firmly. She sighed helplessly, realizing it was too late to complain. Though she didn't know his name, she still thanked the man who had risked himself alongside Mo Thu to save her. Lin Tian chuckled inwardly, guessing her feelings for Mo Thu, but outwardly replied politely, "It's nothing, just lending a hand." Meng Yao solemnly urged that they must leave New City before nightfall. Lin Tian frowned and asked why the place had become so dangerous. Meng Yao trembled as she recounted that since Mo Thu left, endless rain had fallen over New City, first thought to be natural. But the rain kept pouring without stopping. Then everyone who touched the rainwater turned into corpses. Mo Thu screamed in horror, unable to believe his ears. Lin Tian froze and asked again, "Was it truly everyone?" Meng Yao nodded, saying no one was cautious at first and even played in the rain, but soon their bodies convulsed and went mad. Their eyes turned black, skin rotted, transforming into grotesque creatures like zombies. They attacked and bit anyone nearby, even family, leaving no time to react. The downpour trapped everyone inside. The Army and the Cultivator Association tried to contain the chaos but failed, as spiritual energy was nearly useless against them. Mo Thu clenched his teeth bitterly, saying the whole New City had become a city of the dead. Meng Yao sorrowfully confirmed it. Lin Tian frowned and asked if the soldiers and cultivators were also transformed. She said not all, only those caught in the first rain, while others escaped in time. He pressed further, asking where those survivors were now. Meng Yao muttered hopelessly, "They disappeared." Mo Thu was stunned, demanding what disappeared meant. Meng Yao spoke in despair, explaining they had detected an abnormal energy from the central tower of New City, likely the disaster's source. The Army and senior cultivators had joined forces to send an investigation team there. But everyone sent never returned, vanishing completely. Lin Tian frowned again, repeating, "Disappeared?" Meng Yao clarified that there were no corpses, no screams, no signs of battle, as if the city itself had swallowed them. Lin Tian's expression darkened, then he smirked coldly, saying things were getting interesting and that he held information explaining it. He said he had just sent Gao Tianlin to the underworld. Meng Yao gasped in shock, unable to believe he had slain a Peak Fountain Ninth Realm cultivator. Lin Tian calmly replied, ignoring her shock, and said that before dying, the man had revealed the true cause of the incident. The mastermind behind it all was a cultivator who had reached the Iron Vein Third Realm, a power far beyond ordinary people.